gentlemen, this is Freedom Report. The broadcast will start shortly after this brief song.
I got arrested just a few days ago in a sting operation for my 13th time. My brother's 16th time. I mean, we are reading some Guinness Book of Records. This is unbelievable. I would never think that in Canada you would have to do this. It's unbelievable.
Stefanos, you're frozen. Oh man, they gotta change your modem.
1 hour later.
Now forgive my paper here, but you know what? When it's that song, you write on anything you get. God bless you. Amen. Thank you.
Very large crowd here. So, very large line of protesters, very large line of police, and riot police who are actually moving further. But I was, just before I even turned this phone on, they weren't coming over this snow hill up here, but here, I'll show you everybody. Yeah, they're coming over this snowbank and they're going to want to push everybody out of here.
Ed, you're muted.
Well, I'm just going to start by saying I never expected to be the guy in front of the cameras, in front of the media. I just wanted to grill. I just wanted to run my business, sell our sandwiches and our platters of meat, give good job opportunities to people, and try to enrich my local community with the kind of food that I can make. I've been put in this strange position where I had no choice but to engage in civil disobedience. So.
A lot bigger crowd than Edmonton. I salute you all, freedom fighters. I'm a freedom-loving pathologist, and I've got a big career on the line here. I've spent my entire life in evidence-based medicine, being a good guy, a soldier for organized medicine, and then that's not good enough. I'm spreading, according to them, misinformation, except the only problem is they won't tell you what the information is that I'm misinforming you about.
But you told me that they had their safeties off, right?
Well, there was one guy standing there with the AR, there was kids around, and one fellow said, why do you have ARs, full tactical gear, with you when we're unarmed, and there's kids around?
Oh, there we go. Playing most games again.
Yeah.
So, so this is gonna be what you want to share out, guys.
Freedom Report has special guests like April Lejeune, Pat King, Conrad R.C. Goodser, Artur Pulowski, Misty Wind, Mike Martins, Chris Sky, Jason J. Manpachernik, Aaron Barker, Dr. Daniel Nagase, Adam Skelly.
And you have to prove that you have a lawful reason to be there. And I say your lawful reason is Section 6 of the...
You have a lawful reason to be here because you're a citizen of Canada.
That's right.
Everything about all the corruption and the voting scandals. Just wait till
Police started coming in and taking people's stuff again, and I thought that was illegal. They just said that the first time they're supposed to return everything.
Freedom Report. Broadcast starts now. Thank you for watching.
Hello, Canada! Hello, United States of America! Greetings to every single human being all over this planet. My name is Kevin J. Johnston, and this used to be the Kevin J. Johnston Show. It is now freedomreport.ca because Ed Janosek and Derek Story took the show over. Thank you, gentlemen, for doing just that. It is a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to be back for just one night. My Lord, where do we begin with all the stories that we have to tell? First, hello to everyone who has thanked me and or issued me best wishes. during my incarceration time in the province of Alberta. Thank you to everyone who sent me mail while I was in jail, and mail in general, emails. I love it all, especially all you kids out there that drew crayon pictures of me. Thank you for that. God, you people are incredible. And I'm going to use that term, you people, the one that got Don Cherry kicked off of CBC. You people are phenomenal. I got to say thank you to absolutely everybody. Now, we're going to have a bit of fun tonight because I know for some reason, everybody wants the auctions to come back. So we decided to go through a whole bunch of stuff that was in the studio for a while. Unfortunately, everyone, we lost our studio. So I'm on a couch with a piece of green screen behind me. Who cares? We're still going to have ourselves an absolute blast tonight. So we found something you might like. These are the gloves that I was wearing when I almost froze to death back in January. And yes, we're going to auction these gloves off tonight. Look at them, they're ripped to shreds by barbed wire, but I'm going to explain that story a little bit later in the show, especially when we have our American friend Michael Arana joining us a little bit later on. What else do we find? Well, we're going to auction off these things. I'll explain them very quickly. Car on the far left was the first gift my father ever gave me from his trips to and from Ireland. The goofy car in the middle is the first toy I ever purchased with my own money in Walt Disney World in the Contemporary Hotel. The Mickey Mouse car was the first car I was ever given by anyone. My sweet Aunt Lily out in Sudbury gave me that. And the car on the far right is the first car that I ever found as a kid. I almost lost my hand grabbing for it. That in itself is another ridiculous story. It'll probably show up in my next book, Tales of Crazy. Anybody who decides to donate tonight, folks, $20 or more, and I'm going to send you all of my books. Lacrosse is Dead, Masks Are BS, Tales of Crazy Volume 1, Biden's America, the comic book, Demon Dog and Retro Rat, and my newest one. I had a lot of fun putting this one together. 25 Things You Didn't Know About Batman. You will get the audiobook and the ebook of all of these for $20 or more tonight. You can throw donations at us at freedomreport.ca, at gmail.com. And no, they are not the same Disney Corporation they were when I bought those fun toys for myself. We found a couple of these. Remember these hats here, folks? We don't have many left. The Kevin J. Johnston, Chris Sky autographed Make Calgary Great Again hats. They're on the auction block tonight, as would be the Get Out hat. That's the last one that we have for Pastor Archer Pavlovsky of his Get Out hats. And hey, we found this as well. This was the purse, the bag. Everybody carries these in the country of Myanmar. This one here was something that was handed to me by a monk in the war zone in Myanmar. We're auctioning that off as well. So feel free, folks, to pick and choose what it is you'd like to bid on tonight. We're going to have ourselves a lot of fun. So we're going to hit it. Yes, I was in a car accident. It sucked. It was brutal, horrible. Hurt myself badly. All right, Derek, you can take that down. That thing. Michael Butler. Thanks, Mike. But yeah, take it down. It's confusing. All right. Thank you, guys. Car crash. On my way to Edmonton and got cut off. Someone deliberately just went right in front of me. And I got grabbed by ice and the grass. Car spun out. And there was a big jerking motion to the right side. Now, Derek, he'll tell you all about it. I couldn't move my neck to the right. I couldn't even lift my right arm past this height here. If I tried to go behind my head, like tears would start to form in my eyes. That's how painful that it was. Yeah, he calls it, forget him. Right. So I made a choice. A lot of you were giving me the advice to go to the hospital and get looked at. Now, there was a problem with that. Number one is there was a court order in the province of Alberta preventing me from going to any hospital in the province of Alberta unless the staff deemed it to be an emergency. Now, let's say I went in there and they didn't see any blood and they just felt like saying, you know what, this is not an emergency. What they would do is call the cops and say that I was in violation of the probationary order and I would be arrested as I left the hospital. I wasn't going to take that chance. But reason number two, and this one is actually a bit more accurate than the first one, is the left wing is getting scarier in their thought processes. People on the left actually think that it's a-okay to be violent, crass, rude, and attempt murder because someone like myself happens to have the correct opinion on everything. Yeah, okay, I'm conceited, but who cares? I have an opposite view. For example, my view would be this. The planet is round, not flat. There are two sexes. Gender is not even a term for sex. Gender is a made-up social term. It's just like boo-boo and doo-doo. It's junk. All right. There is no such thing as a pronoun. There's no such thing as a transhuman, transgender, trans anything. There's no such thing. These are all social constructs. These are all manipulations of language. I'm not buying into it. But because I state this, believe it, and live according to it, the left wing feels they've got the right to trash my car, attack me, throw things at me, libel me, slander me, defame me, and or assault me, which they've done over and over again. My thought would be this. I did not want to go to any hospital anywhere in Alberta and have some of the staff, I'm not going to say nurses, I'm not going to say doctors, I'm just going to say staff. I would not want to have any of them who are A, left wing, and B, have listened to all of the slander and libel and lies told about me by every media outlet in the country. I don't want them to have needles and scalpels and weapons and knockout gas and whatever else around me when I'm in there. It's a chance I'm not taking. So I chose to rehab myself. So I can turn my neck now and I can lift the arm just fine. It still clicks. If I had a microphone, a separate one, I put a microphone here for you and you'd hear it click. I did it myself. I do not trust the Canadian medical system. That's all provinces, not just Alberta. It's all provinces. I am not going to subject myself to any medical officers anywhere in this country ever again. I'll do everything I possibly can to rehab and fix myself. I will, however, if anybody knows a veterinarian who has an x-ray machine somewhere in this province, I'll go get a vet to take an x-ray of my shoulder and let me know if they see anything. At least vets, well, because you got to pay cash for that, they're business people. Doctors aren't, because the government just gives them absolutely everything that they want. I know that we have Ed in the room. I bet he cannot wait to come in and tell me I talk too much. Thank you, Ed. And for those of you making comments about Kevin J. Johnston's fat face, you would be correct. Even though I've been in the gym building this up, I've been sitting in front of the computer a lot, because for the last 4.5 weeks straight, every single day for between 4 and 8 hours, I've been doing court paperwork. Some of it's mine that I'm filing against others, but a lot of it is defensive stuff. So I haven't been jogging or riding bikes like I normally do. Tomorrow, if you go to my Gab account, gab.com/Kevin J. Johnston, what I will be doing is putting up what I eat during a day and what my exercise routines are during the day. So on gab.com, you'll see what I'm doing, because I'm planning on dropping 20 pounds of pure gristle and fat as quickly as I possibly can, get back down to a comfortable 180 and not the 200 pound, 200, yeah, it's almost 201, like 200.75. All right. We're going to work on that. Just like Ed's going to work on like not smoking anymore. Right, Ed?
Good one.
Right, Ed?
By the way, Kevin, you talk too much. I'm
you
done.
told me this before.
Yeah.
That's not news. That is not news.
Oh, now he runs away.
He takes off. He takes off. All right. So we got to do another thing here, everybody, because I know a lot of you were asking me. First off, Beavis. Yes, Beavis. I'm on Friendavoo. Absolutely, I'm on Friendavoo. Recently, it's only recently I've actually been getting back into my social media, because the government said I could not be even on a computer for the first 2 months of this year, I think it was. And there are still about 150 people in this country legally I can no longer talk about. All of the Calgary stuff, all the charges they tossed at me during the mayor campaign in Calgary last year to get it so I couldn't win. I won. You guys know I won that mayor race. But all the slander and libel charges they put on me, those are all dealt with. So what we have now are 0 Alberta orders preventing me from doing anything other than, I can't go to some town. I forget the name of the town. Delburn, is it?
I think it's Delburn.
Delburn. Okay.
Near,
so I cannot enter the town of Delburn, Alberta, and I cannot leave the province of Alberta for any reason whatsoever, according to court order. Aside from that, I guess I got it. Everything else is going to be A-okay. We will address the elephant in the room, because many people were asking me what the issue was with me and with my former photographer, Logan Murphy. Well, I don't want to make a big deal out of this. I really don't. So I'll just summarize it up. We are no longer friends. However, I still wish him well. All right. So I don't have any hard feelings, but here is the truth. During his time with Derek and myself last year, he lived with Derek and me last year during the Calgary Mayor Run. Rent-free and food was covered. So every expense out there was covered except for some of the fancier foods he'd buy himself, no problem. Well, he ran into a number of issues with his vehicle and had to borrow quite a bit of money to get his car, first off, out of the impound yard for not having licensed it properly. And then secondly, for all the stuff that was wrong with it that the cops kept pulling him over for. Cops pulled him over quite a bit because his car really wasn't doing all that well. So between my dear friend Rose, who's moderating the show right now, and me,
I helped out too.
and Derek, he was given almost $1,400 by all of us combined to get his car on the road.
I got paid back though.
Okay, so Derek got paid back. I didn't, $1,000, and Rose didn't, $400. So when I asked for the money, politely, which I always do, instead of paying it, he released some silly statement on his Telegram page accusing me of some kind of sex scandal, where he had stated that I was grooming somebody who was, 20 years old or 21 years old for sex? A male. That's what he said. I was grooming a male for sex.
Adrenochrome or something.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And he stated that I was involved in the adrenochrome craze. What else? There was something else? Pizzagate. Yeah, apparently I was involved in Pizzagate. So the foolishness came out, and regrettably with that, some people actually believed it. And then many, the smart ones, all called me up saying, "You're not going to believe what Logan is saying about you." What I can say is this, and I can only surmise why this was done. When Logan came out to Calgary last year to join the mayor run, I'm pretty sure that he knew that he had coattails to ride on. Now, that's not me bragging. It wasn't necessarily my coattails. It was the coattails of there being a big political campaign. He didn't sell as many of his books as he wanted, so he didn't make as much money as he wanted. And instead of paying back what he owes, he chose to throw out the sex scandal thing. Well, I've addressed it. Here you go. I've addressed it. And what I thought was bizarre, very bizarre, is that Antifa, when they got a hold of his public statement, they sided with me. Can you believe that? Antifa said, "We don't believe Logan Murphy because he's a liar," and so on. Well, what had happened, everyone, or what you need to consider, especially for those out there who were in their 50s and believed what he had to say? He's 28 years old. The man's completely broke. He's completely lost in life. He's got a vision for something. He doesn't know how to acquire it. So he came out and said this thing in the hopes of it being able to get him some notoriety and sell some books. So some of you got suckered into that. Whatever it is, guys, Logan, keep the money. All right. Pay Rose her $400. Do that. But my $1,000, keep it. I wish you the best, but our relationship is terminated. We're done. I'm going to leave you alone. I'm just going to ask you to leave me alone. That'll be it. And this is the last time I ever discuss the subject ever. I'm too busy smiling and too busy enjoying the great days out there. The last 2 days have been beautiful here in Calgary. And everybody, what I do love about being this far north, I hate it in the winter, but I love it in the spring and the summer. As it stands right now, the sun is coming up like 6:15 a.m. and it's not even going down to like 10 after 9 at night. And it's not even May yet. So come June, the sun will be going down about 11:15 p.m., which is absolutely wonderful. I love long days. So I do thoroughly enjoy summers in Calgary, although the government locked me up for 7 weeks during summer last year. They stole half my summer from me, but they're not going to get this one from me. I'm just going to go ahead and continue doing what I do. And Rose, thank you very much for putting that comment up. We certainly appreciate that. Donate $20 or more at kevinjjohnston.ca or by email money transfer, and you're going to get all of my books in ebook and audiobook format. Here comes the big slide. There it is. There's all the books. Lacrosse is Dead, Masks Are BS, Tales of Crazy Volume 1, Biden's America, the comic book, Demon Dog and Retro Rat, and 25 Things You Didn't Know About Batman. Lots and lots of entertainment value there. So I know that we have Stephanos is in the room waiting for me to shut up. Ed's in the room waiting for me to shut up. Michael Arana's waiting. I think Mike Martins is also waiting. He'll be coming on for the second hour to talk about a great number of amazing things. This guy is brilliant, man. I don't know where he's got the time to learn everything that he knows, but we're so thankful to have him here. Now, some of you have been wondering also why I'm staying low key. Well, first off, I'm educating the living crap out of myself. Like, I'm just educating myself with everything I possibly can to do with the cryptocurrency market, the Forex, international monetary markets, and the real estate markets. I want to know what's going on because typically I've been ahead of the curve by between 2 and 3 years. I put Masks or BS out 3 years ago. I debunked everything to do with this nonsense 3 years ago. And now I'm ahead of the curve again by knowing that the Canadian dollar is completely and totally on its way out. It's going to be replaced by a cryptocurrency. And thus, I no longer have any Canadian dollars whatsoever. And I mean zero. I don't like Canadian dollars because I know they are disappearing. I will do a couple of longer series shows that won't be live, but about where the Canadian dollar is going and how to protect what you have. Mike Martins is probably going to have quite a bit to say about that as well tonight because he's also a money guy. He knows what he is talking about. And on the right side of the screen there, you can see that all the items up for auction tonight. Derek is going to keep flashing those up on the screen for us. Certainly do appreciate all of that. All right. Oh, Nancy Graham, are you flirting with me, Nancy? What do we got there? I'm going to stay up way past my bedtime for Kevin tonight. Missed you, KJJ. Nancy, thank you so very much. We absolutely love having you guys here. What do we got there? Kevin, Cesis is talking on his show again. Yeah, you know what? I think after I made the announcement that I was going to be on the show tonight, every police department in the country is watching this show tonight. We can pretty much guarantee it. So, whatever. Welcome, officers. Welcome. Actually, officers of the law, I have some advice for you a little bit later in the show. Maybe you should stick around because it's going to be kind of important that you hear what I've got to say because it actually it affects you positively or negatively, but it's not going to be something I do, just for the record. All right. I'm not going to be hurting anybody, but your government will. You're absolutely flirting, Nancy. So I'm going to have to blow you another one. Thank you very much. I'm flirting right back at you. Of course, Derek gets all of my flirts later tonight, Nancy. So, you know how it is, right? What's fair is fair. I've known him longer. Very good.
Well, that's what you get for staying on the couch, man.
Yeah, that's what I get for doing anything right. Yes, guys, gals, ladies and gentlemen, to over here. If you all remember, 10 years ago, we used to do a comedy show on YouTube called Jamaican for Honkies, where we had Frankie Ajamang, who goes by the name what was his code name?
I don't know.
Trix, Trixx. That's right, Trix. We did a great comedy routine, and this hat was made for me by a wonderful Jamaican lady who was a fan of mine back in the day when I was doing black and white jokes all day. So that is not cultural actually it is a cultural appropriation, and who cares? That was a gift, and I look good in that, don't I? We're auctioning that off as well. That's the old Jamaican for Honkies hat, folks. We got to raise funds to make sure that Derek and Ed and Stefanos can keep this show going. You know, Derek, do me a favor. Keep that slide up for the rest of the night. I never get bored looking at my own face.
Of course you don't.
I never do. And there's the gloves that I was wearing when I almost froze to death. We're going to cover that story a little bit later on. There we go. So I wanted to maybe now express a little bit more about why I've got to stay hidden. There's been a number of assaults that I've had to endure since October. That number is high. There's been 7 assaults, and I'm going to cover the most severe one a little bit later on in the show. But there's also been eggs tossed at the residents and late night phone calls. And we've got a couple of folks who decided to join Antifa and start harassing not me, but my family. So I know I've always said don't feed the trolls, but I do need to express to you how dangerous it's actually become for me in the city of Calgary. It's not a safe place for me anymore. Carol, yes, we still have some of our awesome coffee for sale. And yeah, it's all there. Yeah, absolutely. The Wasted Native is still my absolutely favorite brand. I love that stuff. I got a couple of bags left I found. I ground them down and
what?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me?
I went through everything at the studio there before we cleaned it out, and I found a couple of bags of Wasted Native. There we go. Okay, very good. So in the reference to not feeding the trolls, I have to bring this story up because I actually am now going to be asking for your help out there, everybody, okay? There's an individual that was introduced to me as somebody who was a huge fan of not just me, but the freedom movement in general. This particular individual managed to hang around our studio quite a bit and waste our time with a lot of idle chatter and steal our stuff, steal our money, took $500 out of our studio, and has been sexually harassing a number of people that I know, including 2 members of my family, namely my wife and my son. Yes, this individual is a little crazy. And I'm going to ask, when you see me in public, everybody, I'm going to actually have to ask that you guys have my back, because this guy here has made it very clear that he owns not just knives, not just swords, not just crossbows, but also firearms. And he is someone who has openly on the internet issued numerous threats to numerous women, never men, but numerous women online. So to give you, let's just tell you who it is, okay? His name is Danny Martin. He is a fraudster and a stalker. He has been stalking my family for about 8 months now, demanding that my wife join him for lunch and for dinner over and over and over again, and demanding that she do so in a Batgirl costume, and then leaving numerous voicemails saying that he really wants to be with her and so on. Calgary police, please, this time when I issue a complaint, please do something with it, because the complaint is coming. We have collected a ton of evidence, but I need your help getting more, everyone. This individual here goes by the name of Danny Martin, but also Dan Martin, the Hungry Trucker, YYC, Doug Kronk, and Kronk Enterprises. There is a gentleman that I know in the United States who calls himself the Hungry Trucker. He's just a trucker that travels the United States eating at various restaurants and truck stops and makes all kinds of commentary. Well, this Danny Martin guy was posing as him and collecting money on this guy's behalf, to which the RCMP began investigating him. But if we all remember Nathaniel Cirillo, the Canadian soldier who was killed in Ottawa, Danny was also collecting money through GoFundMe for himself, but saying that it was for the Cirillo family. And when the Cirillo family asked him to take the page down, he opened up a profile pretending to be the man's sister, and then threatened and harassed the entire family. So if anyone, there we go. Go ahead, throw that up. Throw that up.
Can take a fucking whip to her back. And
he says the F word here, everybody. Sorry.
I'd love to see it. I pay hard money to see that. I pay even more money to be part of it. She wouldn't do it if she lived here in Calgary.
What he said at the beginning, you
right
know what? Take his face off of there. I didn't want to talk about this guy, but what he was talking about is that he would like to see people like Kellyanne Wolf and what's that new woman that's taking over for Ellen DeGeneres. He was talking about the fact that he wants to see women beaten with sticks and with whips and so on. He is very much a proponent for assaulting women who disagree with what the man says. Danny Martin is dangerous. So if all of you out there could please comb his social media and look for any further threats that he's issued against me and everybody else out there that he's threatened. He knew that I was investigating him, so he went ahead and scrubbed his Instagram page, TikTok, and Friend of You pages. He took everything down. So last thing I'm going to say here on this, and then we never talk about this guy again, except for when it's time for the police to deal with him. Don and Perry, I know you're watching the show, and you went out of your way to introduce this guy to my family. I'm going to say that it's a good idea, as former friends of mine, to get this guy out of your life. This guy is dangerous, and he's going to drag you down with him. If anyone knows this guy, he's taking you down with him. He's a menace, and he has no fear whatsoever about harassing women and children, sexually harassing women and children in text and in voicemail. How sick is this guy? Derek, go ahead.
It's a good thing I didn't have him fix my computer whenever you were in jail or whatever.
Oh, yeah, he would have put something on it. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely sure of it. So, yeah, he's out of our lives, everyone. That's the warning. If you see this guy anywhere near me or near Derek or anyone else that we know, please call 911 immediately, because he's capable of a lot of crazy things. And I'm pretty sure he's the one that set up the last assault that was brought forward against me. So let's go now to a little bit of a happier note. Why don't we do this? Why don't we bring Michael Arana in now. Mike, give me a thumbs up in the studio there if you're good to go. Are you good to go? All right. We're going to bring in Michael Arana right now, who's an American, Canadian, both citizenship journalist. Great guy, knows what he's talking about. Michael, welcome to the show. I want to just let you know, Michael, I see that either you didn't get my gift or you're using it for another nefarious purpose. I sent you 4 skids of bleach so that your kind of good-looking face can look as beautiful as this good-looking face. And I think what you did instead is open up a janitorial company, didn't you? Yeah.
yeah, I did. But
great to see you, brother. It's so good.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Just
oh my gosh, this is why I miss you, Kevin. I mean, by the way, I got to say this. Yeah, you're right. I'm glad you corrected it, Canadian American. It's funny. You live in America for a year, and the Canadian and some Canadian thinks you're an American all of a sudden, which I don't mind that. I really don't. But it's nice to see you, Kevin. And now I am honored to be on. I don't know if this is the first show you've been on since you had those bans lifted, but be that as it may, it's good to see you again.
Well, I appreciate that, Mike. It's good to see you too. And yeah, I've actually been off the show for quite some time. The number of court orders that I had against me were over the top ridiculous. Onerous is the word, and egregious. Though they were over the top crazy. So I wasn't even allowed to have a phone. I had to make phone calls from an old landline, and the long distance was something crazy like 60 cents a minute on that. So when I was calling Derek to call into my own show, yeah, it was like, it cost me what, $9 per time?
You know what? When people tell me, when I tell people that the way the unvaccinated and the people who are against the COVID tyranny are treated in Canada, it's similar to how black people and pretty much non-white people were treated in apartheid South Africa. People say that that's ridiculous, but they really don't know what they're talking about. And I was actually just reading about this today, about the banning laws in South Africa when they banned some black and white people who would speak out against the system, who would, basically talk out against the system. They called it Anti-Communism Act, which, they call us anti-vaxxers. We're not anti-vaxxers. We're people who are against forced vaccines. We don't want people to be putting foreign objects in their body if they don't want to. And what they used to do is that if you criticize the system, they'd say you're a communist and you'd be banned. You wouldn't be allowed to leave a certain area. You wouldn't be allowed to use technology. You would have to pretty much, there would be a curfew. What does that sound like? That sounds like what you just went through, what you just described. So you were basically banned. So that's why I say that it's literally Justin, the tar-faced Mac Daddy Trudeau is no different from George Wallace or P.W. Botha of South Africa, Heinrich Verwoerd, those apartheid leaders. Yeah, the way the unvaccinated are treated in Canada. I'm not in Canada at the moment, but the way people are treated in Canada it is the same way that non-whites were treated in apartheid era South Africa. But here's the thing. People think that I've abandoned Canada. I'll never abandon my country. Never. I am in exile. And I come back regularly. Don't. I have a home here in Canada as well. Still. I still have a home here. I still come here regular, almost weekly, because I have stuff to do. But just like the great revolutionary leaders who fought an evil system and won, sometimes had to live outside of their country in exile because that would be how they could fight more effectively. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and you know what? God bless you for doing it, brother.
And I hope that these police officers and RCMP and CSIS people are watching. There would be something I would say to them, but Kevin told me before the show that I'm not allowed to curse.
There's a number of things, Michael, that I just cannot say because we know that the Cyber Crimes Division of the RCMP is watching this show right now just because I'm on it.
Oh, I don't care. I don't care what they want to do to me, but I want to respect you. It's your show, and you told me not to curse. So, out of respect for you, not out of fear for them.
But Michael, I'll tell you this right now: is that we actually are filing the appropriate motions in the appropriate courts nationwide to get a lot of these ridiculous bans on my freedom of speech lifted. As Stefanos has always said on the show, take it to court, take it to court, take it to court. Now, I have already gone ahead and filed 2 separate $1 million lawsuits against really, really, really bad people. I'll be releasing those lawsuits next week if I'm not able to get them to see a semblance of reason in doing so, because we just have to go on the attack. But I'm going to go on the attack using the same paperwork that they have used against me. But just want to remind everyone, folks, donate $20 or more tonight. And everybody who does so is going to get all of my books. Okay, all 6 in ebook and audiobook format. I'll email them after tonight's show. They're all going to be there. Plus, we're auctioning off the last Get Out hat signed by Pastor Archer Pawlowski. If you want to bid on that, just go ahead and auction and write down red hat, put down your bid. The bag that I got from the war zone in Myanmar, that's up for grabs. My first Star Trek toy ever. This thing's been hanging around my house for years. So if you guys want this thing, it is die-cast metal. I love it. The Jamaican for Honkies hat. My old stand-up comedy routines when I was doing the Imon stuff. It's all there. Michael knows how to do patois quite well. And all of my original toys. There you go. I'll autograph whatever you guys want. Plus the gloves that I was wearing when I almost froze to death. That story is going to come up a little bit later in the show. But, Michael, I got to get your thoughts on this. Twitter sold to Elon Musk, 40 billion, or was it 44 billion bucks?
Now, 43 billion.
43. The left wing has gone absolutely crazy worldwide on this one, most specifically on the West Coast of the United States. They've lost their minds. Now, I don't trust Elon Musk at all. Just because he smiles and says that he wants to be a proponent for free speech doesn't mean he's going to be. But I got to get your take on this. You're in New York State right now. What's going on there? Because New York's become a leftist dunghole as well.
I don't really follow New York politics. I never have. I honestly don't. All I know is that there's going to be a governor's election soon. I actually don't think that the Democrats, I think they might still win, but New York politics really doesn't interest me. I just don't know. But as for the Twitter thing, one more thing I will say about New York, though. There is a good chance that a Republican could become the next governor and replacing Kathy Hochul. All the predictions are saying it's a safe Democrat seat, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But nevertheless, New York politics doesn't really interest me that much. But the Twitter thing, I agree with you on Elon Musk. I wouldn't say that I don't trust him, but because I'm not as experienced as, say, you or maybe even Ed, because I'm a young boy compared to you old farts. I'm just kidding with y'all. But I've seen enough to know that there are people like Ontario Premier Doug Ford who will say something and one day and then completely stab us in the back the next day. So with Elon Musk, and I've heard a lot of concerning things about him, but I mean, I respect him. I respect the fact that he says he likes free speech. He's been successful. But I've told people, and I said this yesterday on my show, nobody should go on Twitter until Elon Musk changes the terms and conditions of Twitter to make free speech and free opinion a part of the terms and conditions again. So just because he says something doesn't mean that we should all just bow down and, the media, everybody's saying it. So let's wait. I've even gone so far as to say everybody should write to the Twitter Corporation with a list of demands. Number one, put freedom of speech back into the terms and conditions with, of course, sensible limitations. But also, I would even go so far as to fire some of the executives, the Indian lady, for example, I forget her name, who made Twitter such a censorship website in the first place. Now, I don't know if I'll ever go on Twitter. I never really liked the concept of it, even before all the censorship stuff. It was too much like Facebook, and it was a lot more complicated. So it just never really appealed to me. But I could do it as a show of support for the freedom populist movement if they follow what I've just said. Freedom of speech, put that in the terms and conditions, completely change the terms and conditions, and fire all those executives. Anything less than that, and we shouldn't go on Twitter. We need to hold him to his word, Kevin.
Well, here's how he could impress me. First off, I've got the prettiest face that ever existed on Twitter. Put my account back up. The one I had, 4 years ago? I had 40-something thousand followers on that one. But show us that you mean it and reactivate Donald Trump's account. If he was to put real Donald Trump back up, woo, then we know that he is serious. Now,
apparently Donald Trump doesn't want to go back on, though.
Maybe he doesn't, but nonetheless, if he was to reactivate the account and at least offer it up, then that would certainly be the way to go. By the way, everyone, just ignore the trolls tonight. We're not going to bother acknowledging them. A lot of them are going to say, so Kevin, when are you going to go back to jail? And, imagine, right, everyone, when the trolls do this, they've got both legs up in the air like this, and mummy's changing their diapers and wiping everything up and putting some powder on them. Come on, don't take them seriously.
Yeah, but I mean, I admire the fact that you go to jail standing up for what you believe in. What do they do? What have they ever done a day in their life? I mean, they have a set of beliefs, and they've never even tried to go to jail for it. So, I mean, going to jail fighting for freedom is one of the most noble things you could ever do. So if you ask, when am I going back to jail? Anytime tyranny shows its ugly face, that's when you'll have to put me in jail, because I will always slap the face of tyranny.
So I don't know if you guys remember back in Manitoba where the 4 people got run over, one was put in the hospital. That guy was out in a couple of days. Pat King is still rotting in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So political prisoners here in Canada? Oh, yeah, we got them.
That's all that it is, political prisoners here. And actually, I'm going to talk a little bit about the prisons as well. A couple quick things here. Thank you to Brenda for the $20. Thank you to Roger from Seattle. I appreciate that. Thank you for the $20. Sorry, was it Stacy? Hold on. Wait. It is Stacy. Stacy, thank you for the $20. All of you are going to be getting all of my books after the show tonight. We'll wrap everything up in a big zip file and send everything to you. And Henry has bid $75 on the Get Out hat for tonight. Derek, if you could please put that bid up. $75 is the Get Out hat. There we go, Derek.
Let's make it 100. Let's make it 100. I just did the sum. It's about almost $80 you've just made. Let's make it at least 100.
Well, we're selling a lot of great stuff. We're auctioning off really awesome stuff. There's the bag that I was given by a Buddhist monk in the war zone in Myanmar. Guys, all of this is it's going to a good cause, all right? There's a lot of expenses that we still have. You can see the lighting is terrible in here. We've got to get new gear for Derek and for Ed and for Stefanos to keep the show going properly.
They already know that I'm in a new studio anyways.
Well, yeah, it's studio. Studio is the word, right? We know where it is. But regardless, thank you for all your help, everybody. We certainly do appreciate that. And Gary, this is a cool one. Obviously not a troll. Thank you, Gary. You have Thunderballs. Kevin, thank you for standing up for humanity and freedom and the rights of the people. Now, Ed, got to get your take on this, because you and I have talked about social media over and over again. What are your thoughts on Elon Musk and buying Twitter? Go ahead.
Oh, man, you really want to go there, eh? Okay.
No, keep it 2 minutes or less. Go ahead.
Check out Elon Musk's mom. To me, she appears to be, I don't know, some kind of Satanist or something in the occult. Second thing is, Elon Musk is a globalist. He's been talking about melding minds and turning us into the Borg and connecting people's up to computers. Like, what's up with that? Like, come on. You got to see where this is going. So is he going to use this?
Yeah.
I think he's going to use the platform to kind of slowly push his narrative of becoming man and machine.
Well,
that's where I think it's going.
Yeah, the whole thing of him talking about AI being the most terrifying concept going, I agree with that, but that might just be a ruse on his part. He might actually want AI going on. We really don't know what his particular agenda is or what his thoughts are. But yes, artificial intelligence is something that terrifies me, and not because it's going to set off nuclear weapons on its own, but because it makes more mistakes than human beings do. That's the problem. Too many mistakes. And human beings have begun to rely on artificial intelligence that can't tell the difference between a Malamute and a wolf, and can't tell the difference between me and Mike, and so on. These computers are going to keep making mistakes. Yeah, sure, the software gets better, but so what? If it's going to be making decisions for us that are wrong, human beings aren't going to question these incorrect decisions because the AI.
Oh, Kevin, we just lost your sound. Or did my speakers crap out?
No, I don't hear him either.
Kevin, Kevin,
can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Kevin. Gotta reset your microphone. Michael, if we can go back to while Kevin's resetting his microphone.
We've just taken over Kevin's show.
He's doing the mime thing.
There we go. We got you back. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyways, let's go back to South Africa, Michael, if we could, just for a minute. Next couple of weeks, we're going to be having someone that actually emigrated to Canada from South Africa.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Is my microphone out?
No, it's back.
No, it's back. It's back.
Okay.
You're good.
Yeah.
1 hour later.
No, your sound is good now. But South Africa, we're going to have a guest on in a couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about why they emigrated from South Africa to Canada. And what's going on there, I don't think people are really grasping the extent of how communism has infiltrated that country.
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, yes, South Africa has problems, but I will say this, and in recent days, I've actually been very impressed with South Africa. Number one, two things that make me impressed. And yes, notwithstanding the problems, but number one, they have actually been speaking out against what they call vaccine apartheid. And I was actually seeing something like that on online somewhere a few days ago. Not just some doctor or some minister, but even the president himself talking about vaccine apartheid and how when the Omicron virus, which came out of South Africa, and how the Western nations reacted to it, the government condemned it. It's like, because they know what this stuff is. The South Africans are very sensitive when it comes to government overreach on a mass scale. So when they hear about people in Canada not being allowed to go in this shop or this or that or trains because they're not vaccinated, that hits a raw nerve. And the second thing that I've been impressed with South Africa and much of the third world is that they have not fallen in to this anti-Russia, anti-Putin, let's go to war, NATO, we stand with Ukraine narrative. Now, I'm not saying I support Putin or Ukraine, though I will say that God has blessed Russia, because Russia is a Christian nation. Their leader loves their country. He's a nationalist. He's a populist. I'm just saying, that's just the facts. But also, we have completely, whatever happened to non-interventionism. And so, they realize that, this narrative, this globalist narrative of, I think the real reason that the West and NATO and all these people are trying to go after Russia, not because of Ukraine. They don't give a damn about Ukraine. They want to get rid of Putin because Putin is not in line with the globalist narrative. So that's their reason to get rid of him. Same with many other countries, Iran, Cuba. You can disagree with some of the things that they do, and I certainly do. I never moved to Cuba. I never moved to Iran or Russia. I mean, I just wouldn't. It's just not my cup of tea. But they are not within the whole system. So South Africa has a lot of problems. I agree with you on that. I've been very disappointed with how the black majority have embarrassed themselves with the economy and everything, just giving people
the embarrassment part that you're talking about stems from the leader that came into place, who stated clearly that it was going to be okay. If you're black, it is legal to go onto any farm or any property and throw the white folks out who own it.
That narrative, actually, can I just correct that? That is actually not that accurate. Now, let me explain. There have been let me just explain. There have been very vicious farm attacks by radicals. They have a lot of different parties in South Africa, economic freedom fighters, the Black First Land First. These are people, especially Black First Land First. They think that Black people should just go on the farmland and kill the farmers because it's their land, it's Black land. They took it years and years ago. The EFF states that they should take unoccupied land, land that's not being used, and all land should be owned by the state, which of course I disagree with. The ANC government, with its faults, actually I don't know where this came from, but they haven't stated, maybe some ministers, but the president has certainly not said that people can just, if you go on a white farm and kill the owner, you'll be arrested in South Africa. That's now there are a lot of powerful people.
Yes, there are arrests taking place, but the problem with the arrests, it's only been done by the private security forces. It wasn't actually being done by South African police. So the issue that we had, Mike, is that this narrative was released. It was stated clearly you could take what you wanted. And what the biggest suffering city out of all of them was Bloemfontein, which is one of the 3 administrative capitals of the country. The groups went in there and shattered every window they possibly could in every established business. And then they decided to go into some of the fancier buildings, the Art Deco and the streamlined architecture buildings, shattered everything, stole all the money out of the banks, and then brought goats and cows in to graze in the streets of the city. It was a very, very sad day. And it was all wrapped around the fact that white architecture bad, white asphalt roads are bad. White running water is bad.
Well,
this narrative, Michael, has destroyed the country.
Yes, but it's still a narrative. It's not a law. It's a narrative. And I agree with it. It's just like saying, when Antifa says, we need to do this, this, and that, or defunding the police. These are narratives, which many people fall into. And that's why politicians have a very big responsibility to not let a negative narrative go out of control, because many people will take that and say, "Oh no, this is what I can do," and then people get themselves into trouble. Just like in 2008, which is a narrative which I supported, but nevertheless, it was still a narrative when people said, back when people's homes were being taken away because of the housing crisis, there was a politician in Congress which said, we should stand our ground and stay in our homes and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that wasn't a law. You couldn't do that, but it was still, people did it and got themselves busted by the authorities. Now, so I agree with what you're saying. That has happened in South Africa, and it's evil. My opinion with this whole land thing is that I believe that and this goes for everywhere. The profits from land, the profits from natural resources, as far as I'm concerned, those are profits that all of us, that's our profit. So we should, if it's a private company, there should be royalties because it comes from the ground. And I believe that would solve the whole, they took our land business. And that just doesn't go for South Africa. I think that should be here too in Canada.
But the anti-white rhetoric around the world is forcing countries to suffer like this, because here's the problem. Agree. This is something that I did notice when I was in Myanmar, when I was in the war zone, when you had Bengali Muslims that came in from Bangladesh. You could see that in Bangladesh they had a number of problems. Their water is poison, their food is brutal, and their education system is non-existent. So you have a bunch of men that we saw there that were weighing in at about 90 pounds at 5'2", no teeth. A lot of them had vision problems. A lot of them had problems with their hands. And the other issue is, because of all the mercury, lead, and phosphorus in the water out there, their intelligence quotients were notably lower than they should have been for men in that region, because the Myanmarian men outdid them probably by 10 to 15 IQ points. Now, this is not me stating anything other than when you have bad politics and bad water and bad everything else, your intelligence quotient will drop in that country, period. Now, with that, you had these men with lower IQs being told Buddhists must die, Hindus must die, Christians must die, polytheists must die. So what do? They do what they're told. They go in and they rampantly kill. Now, South Africa and Lesotho are not exactly known for high education standards outside of the main centers. So you have people with low IQs, no education, no food, no money, no hope, and you tell them, go take white farms. They will. Now, if you say go take, not say go kill, they'll still go kill because that means take. That's how that works. You always have to factor in how unintelligent is the audience in which you're stating or making hate rhetoric statements towards. That's a big problem. Intelligent folks like you and I could be told to go kill anyone based on the color of their skin, and we're not going to do it because our intelligence quotients say the person saying it has an agenda that we will never agree with. Well, when you have someone who doesn't comprehend what an agenda is, they'll do what they're told, especially when given free reign to do so. Go ahead.
Right. I agree with you on that.
If I can cut
look,
in
there's
here,
been go ahead, and then I'll tell my piece because Ed's been sitting here quiet. So
50 years ago, South Africa was the first world nation, was it not?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Where is it today?
Yeah, you know? It was, but it was also but it was also a fascist apartheid regime. Let's not forget that. I mean, let me just say this. I know what you're saying. South Africa. The thing that really annoys me about the government of South Africa today is that it seems that they haven't been able to let go of the past and move forward, building the nation, building their nation, and creating more infrastructure, building upon what was already there. And that's not just South Africa. That's all Black people. I always tell people, and this is one thing I hate about Black Lives Matter and love about. I mean, a lot of people hate when I say this, but even like the Nation of Islam and the new Black Panther Party, not this old communist garbage. A lot of what they say, even though they do have a lot of bad rhetoric themselves, which needs to be corrected, the difference between them and Black Lives Matter is that they talk about moving forward. And if white people hate us, well, white people hate us. Let's build our own economy. And that's what South Africa should do, just like what Rwanda is currently doing. You go to Rwanda, is pretty much a first world country right now. And the Tutsis, they were slaughtered like dogs by the Hutus. Now Rwanda is run by a Tutsi president, mostly Tutsi government. And instead of going on about the past and how they were slaughtered, you go to Rwanda now, it's one of the cleanest countries in the world. Every student goes on learns with a laptop, education is high, and that's what South Africa should have done after apartheid. And yes, apartheid South Africa was a first world country. The white minority took this country when the Black people sadly didn't do anything with it. And we need to say that. It's true. They built it into a beautiful highways, freeways, good infrastructure. And we should have built on that. And that's something that should be said. And we should learn from that.
But the problem is, as soon as rhetoric begins to become prevalent, white man bad. That's the message worldwide. That's being taught to our kids here in Canada,
and that needs to be forgotten. That needs to be forgotten. People who say that, Black people who say that, they really annoy me. And I don't even like the term Black. Black was a term that before we were called colored, and Black was a term of, I can't remember. I think it was Stokely Carmichael or something. He said we're Black because Black is a rebellious thing. Do I look Black to you, Kevin? Anyway, let's forget that.
Well, you kind of look like the chocolate pie that I had 3 nights ago. That's why I've got
exactly right. You would know. But I just want to say,
Mike,
go ahead.
Wait. I would rather have a black Ferrari than a white Ferrari, if that helps. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, damn, you made me lose my train of thought, Kevin, you bastard. I'm just
South
kidding.
Africa, Black people annoy you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They annoy. What? Okay, something annoys me. Yeah. The reason why a lot of especially the older generation of Black, colored, whatever people are so obsessed with racism and race is secretly because they wish that white people would accept them and love them. And they secretly want to be white. Now me, I really couldn't give a damn if you like me or not, Kevin. I'm just being honest. I really don't care. Racism doesn't affect me, and maybe it's not even their fault, because back in the day it was really tough. It was vicious. It was bad. I mean, imagine not being. I mean, you're unvaccinated. You kind of have a feeling of what it's like. Imagine not even having a choice to live better. At least we have a choice to get the vaccine, which I'll never do. But, so I can understand that. But for me, racism doesn't, I don't give a flying F, you know what, if you're racist against me. And that's because I'm secure in myself enough where I don't need the approval and the appreciation and the love of white people. It's just, and that's how I think we should, that's the attitude we should have.
Harlem. All right, I lived in Harlem in the northwest side there, and I was the only white guy within like a 5 or 6 building block.
Right,
and
I'm sure you went through hell.
Oh, it was awful. At the same time, I could say this: it was the most entertaining time of my life, because there were fist fights outside my window every single day. I was on the 5th floor watching fist fights in the streets all the time. Now,
Kevin, did you let that diminish you though?
No, God no.
Do you feel offended by it? Do you feel? I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't, because you never really, you were never in a situation like that. But those are the type of things that I'm talking about.
Well, I went from Mississauga, being the white bread place that it was when I was a kid, suburbanite, it's just a suburb. That's all it was. I went straight down to New York City in 1996. That was before Giuliani cleaned the thing up. So yeah, you know what? I got stuff thrown at me a lot because I was the white guy in the block. But there were a number of families that were really good to me. So, I go in and you just have conversations. Typically, it takes 5 minutes of just pleasant conversation to get past skin color. And once you've gotten past that, it never comes up again. Nobody cares. So for any black dudes or whomever out there, the white man is really not that difficult to speak to. All right. When you get loud, like, yo, what's up, Holmes? All right. That frightens the average white person because they haven't had my life experiences. So, what's up, Holmes? Right, bring it down. Four notches on the volume, and the white man will eat out of your hand.
I used to get picked on at the reserve because I wasn't full native.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Derek got his ass kicked a lot because he's only
the point I was trying to get to is right now in South Africa, it used to be a first world country. You got rolling blackouts, you got shortages of all kinds, you've got water shortages. Infrastructure is falling apart. And this is all done because we had soft socialism, hard socialism. Sorry, they had. And now it's full communist. So you can take your crocodile tears and stick them where the sun don't shine, because the people themselves did this to themselves. And it's because lying politicians. Look what Trudeau's doing to us. We're going down the same road. That's what I got to say about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at how powerful the media is. There's nowhere in Calgary that I can't go and not be recognized. And it's 50-50. It's either 50%, hey, you're Kevin J. Johnston, can I get a selfie? Or it's you're Kevin J. Johnston, middle fingers and a whole bunch of FUs. That's the power of the media. So even Canadians who believe that they are highly, highly educated people are still falling victim to CBC and CTV and other junk outlets like the Calgary Herald. What a joke that is. That's like Toronto Red Star junk.
One last thing I will say about this is that I agree with you about we need to stop with the tears and get on with it. I agree with you on that. I understand the past is hard, and I will even go a step further. I don't blame you for crying because I know that the past was hard. I don't care about the first world country bit because, as far as I'm concerned, even though it was still an apartheid regime. So that is mute to me. That disqualifies. I don't care. It could have been heaven on earth. The fact that they did that, I take that out. But I will say that it is time for the government to stop with the socialism. And that goes for all these other African countries that have embraced communism and socialism, which I believe, a lot of the reason why, not all of Africa, but a lot of Africa took in socialism was a quasi way for them to be controlled. This was in the height of the Cold War. The communist Soviet Union, they would tell these countries that, the West is no good, they're not your friend, come to us, we'll help you. It's almost like, let's say, Kevin, you were a 16-year-old, you're vulnerable, you're having home troubles, you're having trouble at school, and then, you're just going down a bad path, and then one day you meet some cult leader who tells you, I'm your friend, or I'll give a better example, a woman who's going down a bad path, and then he meets some guy who says, I love you, you're a queen, this and that, and then he pimps her out. That's what the Soviet Union and the communists, the New World Order globalist establishment around the world did with a lot of these African and third world nations. They used them to get them on their side to fight the US, and then they rubbished them because with all the faults of the West, the communism and the socialism is a lot worse. It really is.
Yeah, certainly. All right. I see a lot of people are asking for a break. I seem to think, or it sounds like perhaps, Ed, have you guys been doing intermissions since I've left the show? Ed, microphone.
These guys are spoiled.
A year later, you're still doing that. Ed, microphone.
Occasionally we do them. I keep muting myself so I don't interrupt the conversation.
Okay, we'll tell you what then. Because we got Mike Martins and Stefanos coming in the room in just a second. Michael Arana from the Arana Nation on BitChute and on YouTube. Are you still on YouTube?
Nope, not on YouTube. I'm on BitChute, Arana Nation on BitChute, and I'm also on Frontline News Flash on Rumble.
All right. Well, I have to talk about my experience in the United States shortly. So after when the third hour starts, we're doing 3 hours tonight. You're coming back in. Is that correct?
No problem.
All right. So you go get yourself a big piece of ganja, man. Get you that long, right?
Get a smoking on.
If I had that, I would, but I'll have to settle with cold beer.
Are you of legal drinking age in the United States?
I'm 29 years damn old. What do you think I am? I haven't been illegal drinking since damn. Do I look that good, Kevin?
Oh, you look fabulous, brother.
I'm starting to wonder if those stories about the anyway, I won't go there.
You look great. You look great. Okay, Mike. So yeah, you go take a break. Derek, put some interlude movie up. Okay, put our C song up, and we're gonna come back with Michael Martins and with Stefanos Karatopoulos. All right, do that now.
Tried to blame me, tried to shame me, brought the fight to my door. Now you're running scared, bet you never thought that I'd come and pull up at yours. All the things that you tried to cast away, you're now washing up on your shores. All the high water and hell I've been through prepared me for this war. I'm not afraid, I won't back down. Blaring the horns outside of your ivory tower, till the walls come down from the mighty sound, marking your final hour. Try with all of your might to defy the holiness that you tried to sour. You'll never win, your time has come. My strength comes from a higher power that shines a light on your darkness. And all the things that you tried to hide and opens up every closet. Don't gotta look far to find the light. Now the cage is open and the flames are roaming, and we walk together like a lion pride. You'll never tame us, now watch us raise up and purify with the fire inside. No fear till the walls come down and we see clear. Unshakable, unmovable, unwavering, unbreakable, like tides that breathe and rising seas, unstoppable, untamable. The light that lives within us has no rival, is untouchable, infinite, limitless, indestructible. They're terrified to let us shine. When we stand together, we're ironclad in unity. There's power greater than the type these tyrants have, sending in their thugs who find us smiling back at their violent acts. Now that the dam has broken, there's no hope for them to wind it back. We're coming into our power and realizing what we really need, and it's not advice from a coward who says more restrictions will set us free. There's no weight behind it like powder. All we need is each other now. Vibration raising, their planet's failing, their house of cards is coming down. The force that courses through our veins is powerful and permanent, and flows from high in heaven, somewhere far beyond the firmament. The darkness had its day, but only paved the way to a total shift, where planet Earth and humanity live in harmony without globalists. No fear till the walls extra weight just made us stronger, kicked us to the ground. But we got up and stood up taller, tried to demonize our pride, but all they did was make us prouder. Tried to cover up our voices and only made us raise them louder. Tried to keep us from our faith, locked our churches, cuffed our preachers. Now our prayers are even louder. They created more believers, tried to block and censor us and bury us in lies, but that made us better judges. All they did was make us wise. There's nothing they can do to stop these changes that are coming. The angel choirs are singing and our ancestors are drumming. Child, smile and do not fear, for the devil cannot play a hand that isn't drawn from his creation and all the part of our Father's plan.
No fear till the walls come down and we see clear, hand in hand, heart to heart, and all is one. A brand new start.
Indestructible.
All right, that was awesome. Okay, can you guys, first off, can everybody hear me okay? I certainly hope you can. All right, Ed, yes, you can hear me. Fantastic. Let's get Ed back in the show there. And yes, in the bottom right corner, everyone, you can see that I've got the gloves that I was wearing when I almost froze to death in the United States of America. That story is coming. Yes, we're going to tell the whole story. They're up for grabs tonight. If you want to go ahead and bid on those, please do indeed let us know. You can email derekstory85@gmail.com with your bid. You can also email money transfer over to freedomreport.ca@gmail.com. For everyone that donates $20 or more tonight, you're going to get the ebook and the audio book for every single book that I've released in the last 3 years. Lacrosse is Dead, Masks Are BS, Tales of Crazy, Biden's America, Demon Dog and Retro Rat, and 25 Things You Didn't Know About Batman. All right, we got to bring Mike Martins in and Stefanos Karatopoulos. Man, so good to see both you gentlemen here. Mike, where have you been and how have you been? Go ahead.
Who, you asking Stefanos or are you asking me? Sorry.
I'm asking you, man. I talk to that guy every day on the phone.
I'm doing fantastic, man. Just
Stefanos,
taking
shut up. Let Mike talk.
Just talking just one day at a time, man. Just throwing it out there, just throwing it down as best as possible, being honest, just doing the do, you know what I mean? Being a family guy and speaking to what's right and standing up for what's beating down the bullies, so to say. And catching them in their own words.
Yes.
Which we're going to be talking about tonight, because I got lots of that tonight for you guys.
Okay. Well, you know what, Mike? I know you said you had a number of headlines.
Oh, I'm just going to shoot them out. I'm going to shoot them all out.
Well, hey, number one.
I want to start first. I want to just stay on topic with that Africa thing really quick so people could see another part of Africa that never really gets spoken about too much. If you don't mind sharing my screen. And
you have to do that.
There it is. What is that? That's Portuguese Africa. Portuguese were in Africa 500 plus years, not 100 years like the French. And the Portuguese actually built and expanded their empire. And the Portuguese were outnumbered, so they loved everybody. They basically did what they had to do to not, upset anyone. They built these cities all over Africa, big cities. There's Luanda right there today. There's the skyline. It looks like Rio de Janeiro. There's pictures from the 70s when the Portuguese were building condos everywhere. There's the main bank there that you can find in downtown. And there's the skyline of Angola there, Luanda, Portuguese Africa. And I basically did a bunch of documentaries in Portuguese trying to explain to the people in other Portuguese-speaking countries like Brazil and all the other countries how Mozambique sold itself off to the IMF here. My life has been threatened by this video. It's been taken down 3 times. And other videos here, Africa for Sale, and basically the destabilization of Africa. So there's Portuguese Africa there in Mozambique. The Portuguese were never ousted or anything. The Portuguese were basically, the media ganged up and lied about them. And you know what they did? Guess who invaded Angola? I hope Eduardo's watching this because he's going to like this.
He's watching.
Cuba.
Cuba invaded Angola.
Yep, and there is Cuba right here for people that don't know. Cuba's up here, and Portuguese Africa, Angola is right there. Why? Because they wanted to make it communist like they're doing to South Africa, and South Africa is obviously becoming more and more communist as we go further. But Cuba was in there, was basically disembarked in Angola in 1975 to basically make it and take over the capital and make it communist. And the MPLA party is still in power to this day, 40 some odd years later. So yes.
Wow.
So I wanted to let you guys know that there was an entire empire that was built, that was actually built, and there was no segregation. And people, if you knew the job, you got the job. And look at that beautiful infrastructure in the 1970s, built by the Portuguese and the World Bank. Do you know why? Portugal did not want to join the World Bank, and they were kicked, and they were destroyed, and they were penalized, and they were sanctioned to death in the 60s and 70s because they refused to join the World Bank, and they destabilized all of the empire. And you know that Angola and Mozambique and Timor have asked Portugal to come back and recolonize many times?
Well, it comes as no surprise that countries that begin to flounder will certainly make phone calls to those that were helping them out in the past. You know, the big problem is with our media, Mike, you make a very good point. The media is not going to cover the positive stuff that's being done in Africa in any way. It's all negative, negative, negative. And we have our good friends there in Ghana. Ghana has become a very modern nation, and I'm actually expecting it to be a first world nation within 20 years, maybe even less.
But this was already a first world nation in the 50s, is what I'm saying. In the 1950s, this was a first world country, state of the art, Mercedes taxis you could see on the street there, and it was like living in Portugal. And again, the key was there was no segregation, and everything was pretty much, if you knew it, you got it. You know, if you wanted to work it, it's there, right? And the IMF and the World Bank and all these cartels hated, they loathed, they seethed they hated the Portuguese because of what they did and how they show that Africa could be a global superpower. And that's why they had to get them out of there.
Well, the amount of resources and the amount of land and the amount of fresh water.
Well, this is Mozambique here. They have the biggest natural gas resource, the second biggest natural gas resource on the planet. And Angola has the second or third biggest oil reserve in the world.
So what does that say?
Yeah.
What it says is, with the correct political structure, anywhere in the world can succeed.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Leadership. And I wanted to touch base with this to show Eduardo, like he was on earlier, and talking about, there it is, Cuba intervention in Angola. And because no one would believe me unless I show it to them. And there's Cuba and there's Angola. Look at that threat. So they had to go there and destabilize that country and murder many innocent people. So there you go right there. I just wanted to add to that whole Africa thing you guys were talking about because I have information about that. I was supposed to be born in Mozambique, right? So
it's supposed to be.
Anyways, so let's go over some
vacation or what? Okay, you go ahead. Move on to the next one. Let's go.
Okay, let's go into the headlines here. So this is nothing new, but I want to bring this up because it's very important, because I'm going to edge into something that no one's talked about yet. And we're going to talk about it right now. Twitter,
okay,
Microsoft.
Before you start, Mike, before you start, that we just got to remind everyone that we got a bunch of stuff on the auction block tonight, because there's still a number of fees that we got to pay here to keep the show going. Donate $20 or more tonight. Get all 6 of my books in ebook and audiobook format. Lacrosse is Dead, Masks of BS, Tales of Crazy, Biden's America, Demon Dog and Retro Rat, and 25 Things You Did Not Know About Batman.
And we got a bid.
Oh, we got a bid. All right, fantastic. We got the auction for the hats. I think our first bid was 40 for the Make Calgary Great and 75 for the Get Out hat. You'll notice on the left side, the hat is signed by me and Chris Sky. On the right side, that is signed by Pastor Artur Pawlowski. This is the bag that was granted to me by a Buddhist monk in the war zone in Myanmar, 2018. This is my first Star Trek toy. We're letting that one go. These seem to be very popular at the comic book shows. The Jamaican for Honkies hat that was made by a Jamaican lady when I was doing stand-up comedy. That's up for grabs. Go ahead and bid on that. My all 4 of my I told the story at the beginning. These are my toys from being a kid, letting them all go. And the gloves I was wearing when I almost froze to death in the USA. Everything's up for grabs tonight, everyone. Go ahead and throw your bids at freedomreport.ca@gmail.com or to Derek at derekstory85 @gmail.com. Mike, go ahead. What's up?
All right, so let me throw out some headlines for you guys. And this is nothing new. This is Bill C-11 and Trudeau government policing social media, yada, yada, yada. Are you ready for this?
Go ahead.
Department of Homeland Security sets up disinformation governance board to fight misinformation. We're screwed. America's trying to pass through the Biden administration this BS bill or this BS board to tackle misinformation and to come after people like us and issue arrest warrants in other countries.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So this is from this is from an hour and a half ago, and it goes in. The RT is even reporting it. Biden administration unveils disinformation governance board. Move comes days after Elon Musk reached a deal to buy Twitter to restore freedom of speech on social media. Again, this is a major issue, and if you go into the meat and potatoes of this, they could issue warrants to anyone that puts anything online they don't like anywhere and have them deported or imported or brought for justice in the United States. So that whole Trudeau thing is just this is just bread and circuses here in Canada. But if America does this and actually runs this committee, this board, we're screwed. We are screwed.
What's your thoughts as to what the solution is if the United States brings this in under the Democrats?
It's gonna basically dismantle the First Amendment. It's going to take away everything that the First Amendment stands for, and it stands for the freedom of speech, the freedom of assembly, the freedom of the press, and it goes on to very specific types of speech and media. Right now, Biden regime announces creation of disinformation governance board under the authority of Homeland Security with a lunatic in charge. You can't make this stuff up, but it's nothing. It's dystopian, it's creepy, and it's scary, especially if America. Now, I want to jump into this here because this is very, very important, and it's making headlines everywhere. Blackmail. Russia shuts off gas to EU states. Poland, Bulgaria, energy prices soar on news. So everyone's, again, painting Putin to be the enemy here. But here's the problem with this. People are forgetting weeks and days ago that Poland sanctioned Russia. Poland sanctioned Russia. Russia didn't say no to Poland. Poland sanctioned in 50 firms and oligarchs. So Poland, and I even made a video, it's on my BitChute, Poland playing Russian roulette with basically what. So Poland is talking big against Russia. Here it is a few days ago. And then now Putin looks like the bad guy for sanctioning Russia. I mean, Putin looks like the bad guy for sanctioning Poland. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. So basically, Poland tells him to bugger off, and Polish ministers and stuff tell him to get lost. We're not buying your gas and oil. And then now they flip the script and make Putin look like when if you go back a few days, Poland is the one that's sanctioning Russia in the first place. So you see where I'm going with this. So I even made a video 28 days ago, Poland playing a Russian roulette. And there's the video right there where Poland's playing Russian roulette and is sanctioning Russia and not buying its oil and gas. Now they're flipping the script and making Putin look like the enemy, even though Poland said they don't want to deal with them. You can't make this stuff up. I think Eduardo wants to say something. Are you there, buddy?
Go ahead, Ed.
Let's not forget, it was just a little while ago that everyone stopped Russia from using US dollars, and the ruble crashed, and now it just exceeded the value of the euro dollar.
Yep, it has.
So I think Putin's doing quite well. And if you want to buy gas or oil from Putin, just buy it in rubles, and I'm sure he'll sell to you.
Yep.
India's picking up gas and oil from them.
Yep.
As is China.
So is China, yeah.
As is South. I can't remember if it's North or South Vietnam. They're also buying it.
Yep.
So go for it, Mike.
All right. So Canadian members of Parliament anonymously backed the motion calling Russia attacks in Ukraine genocide. And Russia warns that NATO's proxy war in Ukraine poses serious real threat of nuclear war. And this is a pretty big deal because, they keep pushing, you keep poking the bear. He's going to fight back. And in a new statement, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov commented in North Atlantic Treaty Organization for engaging in proxy war with Russia via the Ukraine. And I think, and I believe in my heart of hearts that the Ukraine is the head of the snake when it comes to corruption and all kinds of money laundering, all kinds of crap. They sent, I don't know how many billions of dollars to secure Ukraine's border, but they don't secure the American border from all these migrants coming from the south to the north. And they know when the third world starves, the first world gets under attack, right? Stefanos, did you want to say something? You put your hand up.
No, I was just waving the Carol Peck. That's all.
Okay.
Well, Stefanos, actually, I did want to get your thoughts though on the American committee there, putting out arrest warrants for people around the world who spread disinformation, which translates to they told the truth. Now, do you think American warrants are going to be something that could actually work here? Could you be arrested in Canada on an American warrant?
That would depend on what treaties they have between them or certain agreements between the countries with extradition and stuff. But like I have mentioned before, the U.S. can come into 100 kilometers in Canadian soil and kidnap anyone they want from here. And so it's pretty bad. Got to look out.
So what? The Americans can do what?
Yes, they can. If there's a treaty in place, Stefanos, can you go over really quickly about the Obama treaty that was put in place to kill or basically assassinate anybody anywhere?
I'm not 100% on that. I do know that they do have a 100-kilometer range coming into Canada. They'll just kidnap you and that's it. What they do with you is whatever happens. People can go disappearing at any time. This has been in a long time now. This isn't something new. And
this is Obama's first term.
Yeah, and they're allowed to carry restricted weapons, illegal firearms in Canada and everything. They can do whatever they want, basically.
Well, then what's the point of even designating this a sovereign country if another country can come in here and take what they want?
This is because the degenerates who are prime ministers in Canada are giving away our sovereignty, and it's happening around the world. This is why the turd jumps in with this disinformation stuff. Now you see Biden doing it. These are in places, in China, they're already in place. Iran, they're in places, countries all over the world. And again, these are the UN agendas where they're going to be silencing everyone and not letting information get around, period.
The problem is the same people that are passing or being part of these committees are the people that oppose Elon Musk buying Twitter, are people that oppose Donald Trump speaking freely, are those people. So the problem with that is it's gonna evolve to something really big. If this committee it's gonna be worse than watching The View. I don't know if you guys know that show, if anybody's ever watched that ever, but it's like
I know what it is. I wouldn't give it the time of day.
Okay. All right. So let's keep going here. So Poland basically, okay, we did that. Okay, so Canadian members of parliament. So there it is, misinformation in Canada. Because it's misinformation in Canada is so horrendous. So proxy war in Russia, watch out for that, folks. Okay, so I want to throw this out as a joke for tonight. Hundreds demand UN to expel communist Cuba from Human Rights Council. I want to put a motion forward. I would like Canada also to join Cuba and expel them from the Human Rights Council. I think Canada and Cuba should be expelled from the Human Rights Council.
Well, I agree. I've been in the prison system in this country for 7 months of my life. I can tell you human rights are the last thing that any government office in Canada thinks about, period. The last. In fact, they get off on making sure you have no rights.
Yeah, Kevin, you make a good point there that these human rights and stuff that they bring up is just a way of circumventing your rights. That's what they've used them to do. That's what they've been put in place that for that very specific reason. Here's a good disinformation right from the Senate, the Canadian Senate. Somebody had sent me a video of one of the senators. I can't remember her name, but she's wearing her freaking mask up to her eyeballs, maybe her eyebrows, but it's way up there. And they were going on about everyone's a conspiracy theorist, all this garbage, saying about universal basic income. They're trying to point out all these things, saying it's all disinformation. The funny thing is, she contradicts herself, doesn't even clue in, and probably everybody who was watching that didn't clue in. She said, universal basic income, that it would create people not wanting to work and all this stuff. I'm just putting it in summary. I'm not going to use word for word here, not verbatim. And then as soon as she says there are people, though, who are not the conspiracy theorists that bring up legitimate points, that it will create economic loss because people and jobs because people will not want to work. So she just contradicts herself. Then she goes on about transhumanism, saying that transhumanism is a more conspiracy. Go on the Canadian government website, the federal government website. Transhumanism is right there, right on it. Then she goes on about the social credit system. Again, Canadian government website. It's on there. And as a matter of fact, they've implemented this on business, I believe, in 2020. Not on everybody, just on businesses. So this is something that's been going on for quite a long time. And this is how they spread the disinformation to try to fool people that believe in these horse and pony shows, question period garbage like that at the.
And he froze.
And he
That's
froze.
still going on? Oh, man. You guys didn't.
1 hour later.
He's still frozen.
A few moments later.
That one usually works.
So we can't get him unlocked. Huh? He's stuck. Mike,
That's all right. I'll just keep going with my headlines here. New study finds that mRNA vaccines increase risk of cancer and massively impair immune system. We've been talking about this for ages. This is old news, but this is being reported today.
3 years ago, I wrote the book about it.
Yeah, and DNA damage in response and all kinds of stuff that's happening. And this is becoming more and more mainstream, and people are going to have to accept this as a fact as we roll into the future. And I wanted to share this with you guys. Coronavirus, China urged to be more precise and scientific with controls as economic toll mounts. So some of the biggest ports in the world are shut down, so we won't be getting our stuff. You will be seeing food shortages and all that other stuff and all that other jazz we covered on Mike in the Night last week. And because of this, and this is, so I wanted to throw this out there for you, Kevin, because look at this, look at the organization. Everybody's with the masks, blah, 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 and more blah, blah, blah. Look at that. Ooh, look at all everyone social distancing. I love you. And let's move over to Brazil. What are we talking about? What? Carnival in Brazil.
Carnival!
And Carnival in Brazil kicked off. And you know what? I purposely found a video from exactly 6-7 days ago. Do you know why? Because I'm onto something, Kevin, and I think I'm onto something. The coronavirus doesn't affect people.
Did Mike freeze now? What's going on?
Uh-oh.
1 hour later.
Oh, man.
A few moments later.
Okay, Ed. You and I aren't freezing tonight. What do you got to say?
Ed. What a
All right. I'm back. So yeah, Mike's been having problems on his own show sometimes. He can't even he gets locked out completely and actually ends up shutting down the show when it's a really good topic. But I'm sure he'll be back in another minute or two.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure.
What a riot.
Stefanos is back, though. We got him moving again.
Hey, that's some good stuff, isn't it, Kevin? So yeah. So what had happened was, I don't think I didn't hear everything you guys were saying because I could hear you. But
about your mom wasn't me, I swear.
Okay, all right. I'll let it slide this time. So what ended up happening was, so they were going on, but all this information they were trying to say is all on the government website. They like to think that we're so stupid that hidden in plain sight's all they need. They like to mock us on top of it. So that's exactly what they're doing there. Just insane that, they enjoy immunity while they are inside the legislature or inside parliament in order to lie to people to drive these agendas that they're trying to push through.
Oh, I got to separate those pictures.
Yeah. All right. So
I'll do that.
Yeah, you go ahead. Do what you got to do with the photographs. That's for sure. God. So anyway, Stefanos, I know Mikey had a whole bunch of headlines that he wanted to cover quickly here. He actually looks like he ducked out. He's going to reboot his machine and come back in. But I did want to actually bring up something here, and I'll do this. Hopefully, Mike is hearing this, because I did have breakfast with Pastor Archer Pawlowski about a week ago. It was sad to hear the story about him being locked up in solitary confinement in Calgary here. But at the same time, I know what it's like because they locked me up in the same facility. The difference was that the wing inside the prison that they put him on is that the inmates, they were all clapping and cheering for him, and they were actually yelling out, yay, Pastor Art, thanks for doing what you do. And then there was the protests that were outside of it. And some of the prisoners had got their eyes and ears on that particular type of information. So the one thing here, and it looks like Mike is trying to come back in, Archer asked me why it was that I thought that the prison guards were so prone, so apt to giving him a difficult time. I said, well, because they're doing what they're told. There is an order that's in place to make sure that guys like me and Pastor Archer Pawlowski and Pat King and so on are made as miserable as possible. Now, why would that be? Why would the guards do that? Archer actually asked me the question, why would they do that? I said, well, because prison guards make $75,000 a year. That's right off the hop here in Alberta. Yeah, Mike is back. So Mike, you can hear on this now. 75 grand a year, and they are not going to want to in any way get in the way of losing that money. Now, this is the most common thing said to me by all of them. So for police officers watching the show right now, remember I told you I was going to say something that you want to hear? This is it. The most common answer that I heard from every prison guard in the place that I spoke to, and most police officers and most government staff, is my pension. I don't want to lose my pension. And it's all this. That's what it feels like, the way that they say it. It feels like it's like just, wah, I don't want to lose this thing.
Kevin.
In fact, guys, it's like a nervous tick. Like, pension. 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 It sounds that way to me. They're not going to have one. So for all government employees out there, don't you understand? The pension fund in this country is going to be empty. You're not going to have it. When the Canadian dollar is dissolved and it goes to a cryptocurrency, if you do not do everything that you are told, you're not getting your money. You're not getting your pension. So for those of you out there who have some skill set, get away from government employee right now and get yourselves into the private sector somewhere and start saving your own money your way, because there isn't going to be a pension.
Yeah, no pension.
Of course, you jump through the hoops that they're already making you jump through, which is double, triple, quadruple, quintuple needles, which is divulging all your medical history to whomever asks for it. These are crazy things you're being forced to do. Your pensions are not going to be there. Now, here I am 3 years ahead of the curve, telling you now, it's up to you. I don't care what you do. I'm just telling you they're not going to be there. Mike, go ahead.
I just want to throw something out there very important. I want to add to your pension thing. A good indication or a good city or state to watch is Illinois. Illinois has 5 levels of government. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 layers of government in Illinois. And a lot of pensions are on the hook. And guess what? There's a mass exodus out of Illinois because it's turned in like to Toronto, where everything's so expensive. So people are moving to the red states. So Illinois has got 5 layers of government. And right now, if you look into it, they have no money in their coffers to pay all these people's pensions. And watch Illinois, folks, in a couple of months down the road to be like, somebody was on this show talking about that. They're just going to have to go file for a bankruptcy. And that's what we're going to have to do.
Pension. Woo, I want my pension.
Hey, they took Ontario's pension too, so they're going to use it for themselves, the government said. So, everybody's losing their pension. We've had Martin on here a few times speaking about Omer's pension fund.
And he froze again. My God.
I'll be, my server has been under attack since I've been on the show. My computer's, yeah. So I sent
1 hour later.
I sent a few dump files over to somebody in New Zealand to analyze them and see if I'm being attacked, or it's been happening a lot lately.
All right. Well, here's something I'm going to say about government pensions. Government jobs, and this is something I do have to say. I've noticed that a lot of the folks that take these jobs, it's not that they're stupid necessarily. It's that they have absolutely no ambition whatsoever. So they get into these cushy jobs knowing that if they just stick it out and if they just stay miserable for the next 40 years, I'll get a pension. Woo! Pension. Yeah, miserable. Now, prison guards, okay, I really got to wonder about this. You decide to go to jail willingly every day for 40 years for a pension. Pension. Like, what kind of personal relationships could a bylaw officer or a prison guard or a crown attorney actually have in life? When people figure out what you do for a living and what you represent, who's going to be your real friend and who's going to be your friend to get information from you or possible favors in the future? And then you've gone 40 years achieving nothing with your day aside from just pushing along the government narrative. Now you've got a pension, but what are you going to do with it? Are you the type of person that actually has the imagination to do something with that money? I don't want a pension. I am okay working right till the day that I die. I mean, I've been in positions where I could retire in the past, and after a week of doing nothing, I'm bored out of my mind. I've got to do something. You guys remember when I got my knee surgery done? 6 days, I couldn't walk around. I lost my mind. On day 7, I was walking 5 kilometers a day after a full knee replacement just because I couldn't handle it. What would I do with a pension? Really? Like nothing. I'd die. I'd die of a heart attack. Mike, go ahead.
All right, so I just wanted to finish. Somebody in the comments was asking, what was I going to say? So if you guys look, so China is in complete lockdown, and I want to send you guys, I want you guys to see this. Kind of important. There's the shipping containers piling up there in that's in Hong Kong, and it's in the Shanghai lockdown has been out of control. It's such an overreach. It's beyond, and I just wanted to say in Brazil, they got Carnival, and it's like nothing's going on. And I think, in all fairness, that this coronavirus just doesn't affect people that speak Portuguese.
Good. You want to marry me and I'll become Portuguese?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking because, look, all these Portuguese speaking, like in Angola and Mozambique, completely ignored this whole coronavirus thing for the last 2 years. And no one got affected by it. So it's kind of weird how in China they locked the country down and they basically purposely creating these shortages to basically put us in this position where and it goes back to say, why did we put all our industry in one corner of the world in a communist country that basically doesn't have any human rights for their own citizens and treats them like slaves?
Mike, I agree with that. Every single human being in North America should have said, hey, Hong Kong is reverting back to Chinese ownership in 1996. So how about this? By the end of 1995, we stopped doing all business with Hong Kong.
But it wasn't Hong Kong. A lot in the early 80s to mid 80s, a lot of companies were already moving to Chinese provinces in small towns and building up shop and building up and leasing land from the Chinese government and building up these clothing manufacturers, electronics and stuff.
The ports are still in Hong Kong, and that's the thing. I've been to Hong Kong. I've seen the shipping ports there. They're huge, massive. Mm-hmm. Yes. But anyway, continue, please.
Okay, let's get on to the next headline. Woke public schools increasingly dumping tests and teaching children to hate whites in the name of pursuing diversity and equity. Again, this is happening in a lot of blue states like New York, California, Oregon, and Washington State, aka Seattle, King County. This is in the curriculum to push. And then we got the New American is reporting the same thing. In the name of diversity, schools are dumping tests and pursuing racial discrimination. And this is happening right across the board. It's like Canada, America, Brazil. These are all extensions of Europe. Everyone left Europe back when during the Napoleonic Wars, during all these times of upheavals, right? The Portuguese left because they didn't want to be taken over by Napoleon. So that's why they went to colonize all over parts of the world. The Spanish went all over the world with guns blazing, showing who's boss. The English went with BS treaties and, just doing all kinds of weird stuff. But they built the infrastructure. They built the highways. They built the streets. They built this infrastructure, and now they're showing us the door. They're kicking out. We created these extensions of Europe. That's why we speak English in Canada. That's why 91 million people speak Spanish in America. That's why 208 million people speak Portuguese in Brazil. It's because they're extensions of Europe. And we've built these extensions of Europe with, again, by building the society that we wanted to live in or wanted the dream to live in. And look what's happened. Now they're just basically destroying and making us look like we were the bad guys from day one.
Yeah, well, you see, the difference between me and everybody on the left is that I converse with everybody regardless of where you're from, because I want to know as much as I possibly can.
Of course.
And if you ever have conversations with Indians and Pakistanis, especially, they all say the same thing, that everybody wants to go to white countries because white countries are the best. They'll tell you that white people are stupid, and they're right, in feeling guilty for things that never happened in history. We always have to factor in that every single race and clan and creed and country and tribe always enslaved someone else. Right. That has been true throughout all of history. It wasn't just whites. In fact, if you understand history, it was the Islamic groups and gangs that got into slaving blacks in Africa. What was it, 600 years before whites did? Come on, man. We got to start telling the truth about our history. And I, for one, am tired of hearing it. So for all you out there who think that the world is overpopulated, let me throw a couple of raw facts at you. With the correct socioeconomic policies in place, which means the correct system of government, and everybody grows up a little bit, the planet can support 1 trillion human beings. Every single human being alive today, if they stood 2.5 to 3 feet apart, would all fit in Calgary and Airdrie combined, right? Or Los Angeles. So the planet is pretty damn big. There is,
yes, it is,
no place on Earth that's overpopulated at all. The only
jump on a plane
we have is economics and the socio-economic policies that go with it. Mike, go ahead.
You jump on a plane, you get out of the city in a few seconds when you reach altitude after a minute or two. Goodbye, city, and then hello, nothing for an hour. Hello, nothing for another hour. Hello, oh, there's a city down there. Oh, hello, nothing for another hour. It's just empty, vast amount of spaces.
Yeah, in Canada, we have like, I think it's something like 990 whatever million square kilometers. And we have a population here, and it's only been about 1% of that is used up where the population lives. So Canada is immensely huge. There's nothing anywhere. Get a private plane, fly, from Ontario to Alberta, whatever. All you're going to see is all this trees, and there's only little pockets where these cities are along the lakes or whatever. That's it. That's where the majority of the populations are. There's no overpopulation whatsoever. And Mike, you brought up a good thing about teaching kids in the schools. Well, in St. Catharines, a bunch of Antifa scumbags got themselves elected into office, a municipal office, and they actually put together a committee, and it was headed up, I don't know if it still is now or not, but it was headed up by the Communist Party leader. And if there's a job that has to be put out, a tender to be put out to go to bidders for that job, they are actually discriminating now if they are white, discriminating if they don't have other races or nationalities in the employment. And they are denying their jobs. So it shouldn't be based on your skin color if you get a job or not. It should be based on the price and the quality of work being done. So you can see how this is steamrolled and snowballed into something that if you're white, you're bad, and that's affecting everything.
That's correct. So one more thing, I got to reflect on this. I'll never forget this. It was my my grade 11 geography teacher, Mr. Paul Ferrugia. Now, he was a cool guy, but he had also bought into this rhetoric back in the 80s. So I'm in high school in the 80s, and he was talking about the fact that the United States is so full of people, it's so populated that when you look at Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin Cities, America is so populated that the only thing separating these two massive cities is the river. And he named the river, like I guess the Minnesota River, whatever it was. And I thought, like America must be really, really populous in Minneapolis. So I go to Minneapolis a couple of years later, and Minneapolis was smaller than my hometown of Mississauga. Conveniently for them, they had, I think, 4 or 5 highways that went through it. And then there's this demilitarized zone of burned out warehouses. And then there's nothing. Then the river, and then nothing. And then downtown St. Paul. So it's not like these two cities were so massively populated that it was like some dystopian movie that he was trying to get us to believe. No, there's no such thing as an overpopulation problem anywhere in the world, because you just have to, like Mike said, disappear for an hour in any direction and you're out of the city. That's a fact. We do
Even
not
if you
have
walk an
overpopulation
hour out of
problems.
a
So,
city.
I'll finish my thought here, Mike, and then you got the microphone. White people, stop being stupid. You're less than 11% of the world's population right now. I want every single white person right now who's watching, who has genitalia that works, go make 5 white babies. How does that sound? Oh, I know Antifa's going to jump all over that. Oh, okay. And Portuguese too. Portuguese babies, because you guys are white, but not quite.
What about the half
Not quite.
natives?
Make babies, for God's sakes. The best thing in the world that I ever did was made babies. Right? It's a blast to be a dad. It really is. I see moms and how much they love their kids. Make some babies, guys. It's totally worth it. Mike, go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to say, even if you walk an hour outside of some major cities, you're in the middle of nowhere.
Correct.
Like an hour walk, you're in the sticks. So let's move on here. I wanted to throw mask mandates may come back at U.S. college campuses. Again, they got to keep the status quo going. They got to keep people scared. They got to it's like using a chain link fence to stop mosquitoes. Clone Wars. This is a big one. Inside the blood of the mRNA vaccinated. Now, these reports are now starting to surface because it's been enough time that the spike proteins have been working. And we talked about this on your show a few months ago.
We did.
Toxic spike proteins are causing tissue damage forever. And this is actually a lot worse. Scientists are seeing this is actually a lot worse than they expected. A lot worse. So it's 2023 will be the year of the funeral. 2019 was the year of the protest. 2020 was the year of the lockdown. 2021 was the year of the blood clots. And 2022 is the year of the protest, like I said. And 2023 will be the year of the funeral, by the way.
Yeah. Again, I'll remind everyone, there's a couple of trolls. Actually, there's a bunch of trolls in the chat room right now. Who cares? It's all good. What do you got there?
A new video because of tonight.
Oh, a new video because of tonight. Yeah. Don't bother. Who cares? Remember we talked about that crazy guy from earlier in the show? We said we're not talking about him anymore. He made a video. Too bad. Don't stalk women and we won't talk about you, because this is a news show after all. And stalking women is news. All right. Ignore the trolls, guys. I'm not even blocking them anymore. I don't care. They're idiots. Let them chat. Okay. More than 800,000 people march against Macron as
hold on.
France. Wow.
Let me introduce this.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember I kept saying to you, 2019 was the year of the protest. Look at this 2 years ago. More than 800,000 people march against Macron as strikes grip France. Macron was one of the most unfavorable leaders in the world. During 2017, 2018, 2019, the Gilets Jaunes, the Yellow Vest movement was going strong. It was 70, 80 weeks in before they pulled the trigger of the pandemic in 2020. They were going towards climate lockdowns, and they kind of figured people won't believe climate lockdowns. So they pulled the trigger on the pandemic and shut everything down because people were protesting in 2019 in every corner of the globe. We talked about this on your show a few months back, Kevin, if you remember. So 800,000 people march against Macron 2 years ago. This is 2 years old. Now, riot police charge and spray and tear gas on Paris protesters as Macron victory. And I told people, and I was threatened by people, and I kept telling people on Mike in the Night that Macron Trudeau, all these people could run in elections and they'll win every time. Not because people voted for them, it's because it's fixed. So you got this guy with a 28% approval rating that's not even real, and there you go. And they're protesting again in 2022 with the same guy who was doing austerity measures and cutting people's pensions. So there it is. Riot police charged and sprayed tear gas.
He said the word. He said the word. Pension. You're not getting them. They're gone worldwide. No more pensions for government employees.
So here it is. Here it is. Police shoot 2 people dead in the night of unrest after Macron win. So you fast forward to you go from 2019 to today. It's the same exact thing that's happening. And there it is. New York Post. Paris police shoot dead during the night of Macron's re-election protests. The entire country is against this guy. Just like, nobody voted for Trudeau, but they'll still win. These people still win. And I told people on Mike in the Night that Macron will win this election. Not because they want him, not because the people will vote him in. It's because he has to stay there so they can usher in this 2030 crap and how they want to control everything we do. They want to federalize. Somebody in the comments earlier said right now on the show, basically that the trucking industry is going to be gone. No, the trucking industry is going to be federalized. The government wants to federalize your big box stores when they fail. Due to food shortages, the governments are going to come in and save the day, and they're going to federalize the big box stores, and they're going to track what you buy and eat, and they're going to federalize your trucking and your logistics and trade. They're going to federalize everything. They're going to take the entire private sector, the mom and pops that built the infrastructure, and take it away so they could federalize it all and control and tell you what to do. So we actually discussed this in depth many times over and over and over, like a broken record. And it's something that's going to happen. And I'm going to show you guys here. Oh, by the way, my YouTube channel got unlocked. I was on 11 suspensions.
Well, congratulations. Tomorrow they'll lock it back up, I'm sure.
Yeah. So they say, oh, you're on the Kevin J. Johnston show. We don't like you. Here we go. They want to federalize the world right there. Federalization of big box stores and all transportation of food. Big box stores under acts, massive closures by 2021. That's from 5 years ago. Never mind. And rolling blackouts to save us from climate change. So they want to federalize everything, Kevin, and it's going to get, and they're going to basically sabotage everything that the private sector has, from trade, logistics, from telecom, from everything. They're going to sabotage it all so they could come in and federalize it all. And that's what I wanted to wrap up my segment here.
Well, federalization. Now, Mike, are you talking worldwide or are you talking just a few select countries?
Countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the English-speaking countries. A lot of those countries, a lot of the other countries already have these kind of dictators or presidents that could easily be swayed with a couple of $1 million. It's the English-speaking countries where people stand up and say, you're not going to do that to me and my family. Those are the countries they're worried about. America, once they disarm Americans, it's over. It's game over for the whole world. Americans are they're the number one drug consuming nation in the world. And not only that, they are the most armed citizens on the planet. Once Americans become disarmed, Canada will go dark. Everywhere else will start going dark. The whole world would collapse if America loses their right to bear arms. It's over. It's game over.
What do you think happens at that point?
Well, at that point, I think the continuity of government will start to fail in certain countries. Let's talk Canada, for example. Continuity of government will continue on a frail path. And I think it's going to go trading in your plowshares to swords. And then there's going to be unrest, just like 2019. The whole world was in protest in 2019. And I've proven it to you on your show, and I played the video of the world in protest. They ousted 33 governments in 2019 because they were scared. Okay? And then Macron, Scott Morrison, Jacinta Ardern, Justin Trudeau, Donald Trump was in power. They weren't protesting for him to get out. The left media, the leftists were protesting in the States to get him out. But the only person that left power from 2019 during the world protests was Donald Trump. Everybody, and then he was replaced by new president select, Jose Biden. And that guy came in and fast forward the American agenda to catch up to Canada on affordability. I made a video called Amerifornia. Amerifornia. What does it mean? Amerifornia. Basically, America turning into California within the next couple of years under a Biden administration. High unemployment, opioid fentanyl deaths, unaffordable housing. And I said, American property in rural America is going to go up 50 to 100% in less than 1 year. You know how many calls I get to my store and people emailing me every day telling me, Mike, I'm in rural Alabama. Houses were 70 grand. They're 140 now. You were right. Yes, and that's what's going to happen. They're going to push the Canadian 2021 forecast right here, Amerifornia raging across America. And that's a Biden win. Say hello to Amerifornia. This is a big deal. America, basically Canada is California. Everywhere in Canada is California. You can't go to like places like rural parts of Canada and still buy 40 acres of land for $3 grand. You can't do that.
No, you can't.
In rural America, you could go lots of, and don't make me show what I showed last time that made Eduardo cry, showing houses for like 70 grand, 3 bedrooms on 2 acres of land. Stefano, back me up. You know it's true.
Oh yeah, I'm still in love with that shed from Canadian Tire that went for $1 million in Toronto.
Yeah. And then I showed you guys what 1 year's worth of payments on that shed could buy you in rural places of Alabama. 7 bedrooms. Remember 7 bedrooms on 2 acres of land, $78,000.
Beautiful property, beautiful aesthetics on the home, just awesome. Yes, sir. Yeah, it's just so crazy the amount of money. But hell, I'm going to cash in on this this money on these homes being sold.
Well, I'm just going to explain to you guys why, and I explained this last year on Kevin's show, early last year, why housing in some states of America is considered affordable through our eyes, is because housing and real estate is tied to wages. Housing and real estate in Canada is tied to money laundering. Remember, Kevin, we went over this?
Oh, yeah, we went over that quite well. You did a full
billions of dollars laundered through Canadian real estate, through fentanyl sales from Chinese factories, government-owned Chinese factories with Chinese gangs laundering money into Canada and then redistributing the wealth into our housing system and disenfranchising the middle Canadian class.
Mike, let me ask you this question here, okay? Because I know Toronto, Oakville, Ontario is, if you're looking at houses that are south of Dundas Street, which is the old Highway 5, and the lake, between Highway 5 and the lake, those houses right now are worth between $2 and $25 million, depending on what the design is. Now, there
25 million pesos?
Yeah. Canadian dollars won't be whatever. Look, there was a house, and I know the neighborhood it was in. Standard house with like just a crap garage, crap house. Okay, it was listed for $1 million. It got 18 legitimate bids. It sold for $1.45 million. Standard 3-bedroom house in Ontario. Now, Calgary, something odd is happening in Calgary. If you have a house that's within a 7-minute drive of City Hall, which is right downtown, your house is now worth over $1 million. That's kind of terrifying because I don't know if anyone's familiar with that neighborhood or those neighborhoods, especially if they're west of downtown, but they're nothing special. And I've watched the way these things are being built. It's just Tyvek and plywood. I cannot believe they're getting that kind of money for it. And
Kevin, this is nothing special here. This is what nothing special is supposed to cost the average Canadian family. I'm going to make everyone upset again. I don't want to do this. Here it is.
Do it.
In the South, where it's warm pretty much all year round, with land, you could grow your citrus, you could grow tobacco, you could do what the hell you want. 174 grand, three bedrooms, 2 baths. Look at this. A good starter home for a family. Look at this. Hundreds of thousands of homes. Why? Because they're tied to wages, not money laundering. Look at that. I'm sorry, guys. I have to show you guys. I promised I wasn't going to bring this up again, but I mean, a lot of families want to start out. People aren't having kids. I mean, you know what the mortgage, a mortgage would be on $140,000. You're looking at about $640 a month on a 25-year amortization. So
if you sell your house in Calgary or Mississauga or Toronto or Vancouver you can buy 5 houses in Florida, it
I think
seems.
Michael's ready to come in.
Yep. I'm just showing this to you guys because housing is tied to wages. Wages are, mortgages are tied to income. And I could sit here and show there's about 3,000 pages of these type of homes.
Wow.
These are nothing homes.
Man.
These are the nothing homes. Don't make me show you what you could get for 300 grand because a lot of people will drop to the floor if they see 300 grand. What you can
in
get.
Florida, $300,000 gets you a house in a gated community with an indoor pool. That's what you get for 300 grand.
You want an outdoor pool in Florida. You don't want an indoor pool.
Well, but Floridians like that because even though it might be 77 degrees in October, the kids are all wearing long pants and jackets.
Mm-hmm.
That's cold for a Floridian, right? So they love their indoor pools there.
Like this house right here in Toronto, this one right here, this brick home, 3 bedrooms, 3,600 square feet. First of all, in Canada, you can't even buy the brick for that much money. That's just for starters. Old Victorian crown moldings, 170 large, estimated monthly payment with 0 down, $857 a month.
Holy
property tax, $23 a month.
That is absolutely unbelievable.
It's not, but Kevin, if wages were tied to real estate in Canada, our houses would be the same thing. There would be
They would be.
Yeah, but we're so dependent on money. Here, let's look up. Watch. There was a probe today, an RCMP. There was a probe, money laundering Canada. Today, I think it was the National Post. Coming changes to Canada's anti-money laundering laws 1 week ago. Globe, Canada's falling behind in the battle against money laundering. 2 weeks ago. Organized crime has infiltrated City Hall, says national agency 1 week ago. Liberals plan for new financial crimes agency, rises questions about RCMP role 3 weeks ago. Canada had our money laundering crimes division, but they took it out because it was gonna arrest hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, well, we're very soft on white collar crime in this country.
Well, it
Now
wasn't
we know
white people.
why.
It's not the Canadian proper. It's people from mainland China that've been moving their wealth over from China because they know it's totally communist and moving it and buying homes and leaving them empty. So
Okay,
I just
Mike,
wanted to share that.
I got to get Michael Arana back in here, and we got to talk about the story that I promised I would talk about. But listen, there was one more thing that you said to me that blew my mind. It was between $8 and $14 trillion is coming into this country from Taiwan. Give us the 2-minute version of that, and then we got to get Mike back in.
Okay, let me just bring up the so Canada's brought in billions of dollars in from Hong Kong, from Canada playing both sides of the fence, telling China, what are you doing to Hong Kong? And that's why in Canada in 2020 and 2021 we had the biggest housing markets during a pandemic because the money was being brought in from China through the Vancouver model. Bring in your laundered money. We don't care. Now, Taiwan and Canada start talks and investment agreements. So I've been following up on it. And this is from January of this year. I've been following up, trying to figure out what's going on. They want to bring billions of dollars in from Taiwan and secure it in Canada. Who cares about the Canadian middle class that actually built this country? They don't need us anymore. They want to bring in the Taiwanese money, and that's going to be in the billions. If Canada can secure these corporations, the millionaires and billionaires in Taiwan for safe haven in Canada, Canada loves when China saber rattles and brings up Taiwan because Canada wants the money to keep this housing Ponzi scheme. Our houses are going to be $5, $6, $7 million, and you could go back to Alabama and you could still buy this house for $105,000.
Wow.
Our economy is built off of money laundering and money placement.
And my last question, how long before it crashes? Our housing market. Go ahead.
It could go for another 3 hot years if Canada could secure more deals with foreign countries to bring in their money. If a few more years.
So then
if Canada can't secure anything with Taiwan, and Hong Kongers start losing interest in Canada and bringing their money here, then Canada's going to fall apart because the Canadian proper just doesn't make enough money to get into a house. If this house's price is like this in Canada, these nothing homes for that much, that's a nothing home price. Then we wouldn't be in the problem right that we are today. So that's
you can't even buy a trailer in this country for that money anymore. It's crazy.
You can't even buy the material to build that house for that much money.
I know you're right. Go to Home Depot and try to price that house out. Good luck. Mike, how do people reach you online?
I'm everywhere. You could go. My YouTube channel was unlocked. I'll show you what it looks like here. You could find me on YouTube. That's my Portuguese channel. This is my English channel here. That's unlocked. I'm on Odyssey. We got Mike in the Night every Saturday on Odyssey, live call-in show. Mike in the Night is, I think it's on episode 400 and something. I don't even know what it is anymore. But we are on Odyssey too. Odyssey's been doing really well for us, and we've been live streaming on there very, very regularly. And there's our call-in show this Saturday. If anybody wants to call in, we're gonna every last Saturday of the month. And last Saturday we did Mike in the Night 436, food riots, food wars, food shortages coming, episode 436. And before that we did surveillance ramping up all over the world. World governments were spending hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions, on surveillance. That was the Saturday before. And the one before that was weather modifications, Mike in the Night. And the one before that was Agenda 2030. We jumped into the updates. Agenda 2030's website was updated 3 weeks ago. And I think Stefano was on that show too.
I was, I know.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, everyone, that's Mike in the Night. Mike Martin, thanks for being here, man. It's always a pleasure to see you. It really is.
God bless you guys. I'll see you guys on the flip side. And Stefano, call into the show this Saturday. It's call-ins, eh?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. I might have a prior engagement, but if I can get in, I'll call in.
All right, thanks, guys. God bless you guys.
Right.
Thank you,
Good night, Mike.
for having
Take care of
me.
yourself.
Have a good night, Mike.
Cheers.
All right, let's get Michael Rana back in the stream here. There's our American-Canadian boy. We are just going to take a quick break here. And of course, me yapping as I usually do. Donate. Oh, Jack, take that down for a second. Hold on. No, take that down. No. This is the break here. Take this stuff down. Take everything down. Take it all down.
I took it all down.
No, that thing at the bottom left corner.
Oh.
There you go. Okay, everyone, donate $20 or more tonight and get all of my books. Lacrosse is Dead, Masks Are BS, Tales of Crazy, Biden's America, Demon Dog and Retro Rat, and 25 Things You Didn't Know About Batman. $20 or more, and I will email you all of those books in ebook and audiobook formats. That's right. That's over $150 of value for $20 donation or more tonight. We're still auctioning off the red hats. There we go. Chris Sky and me autographed the left one. Pastor Archer Pavlovsky had the right one printed and autographed that one. Please send your bids in, everybody. This was the purse satchel that I was given by a Buddhist monk in the war zone in Myanmar back in 2018. We are raising funds so that we can help this show expand. Derek and Ed have done a great job keeping this thing afloat, but it's time to get it to expand. Help us out here. And from my old comedy days, guys, my hat, that's right, made by a Jamaican lady when I was doing the Jamaican for Honky show. That hat is also up for grabs tonight. Plus, now we got to talk about me almost dying. And believe me, I almost did. Those are the gloves. You can see they're kind of ripped to shreds from barbed wire. We're going to tell the story now. Go ahead and bid on the gloves that I was wearing when I had to make a break for it. So let's get into this, because all the legal nonsense to do with what I'm going to tell you now has come and has gone. So, Stefanos, questions. You're smiling. What do you want to know before we start?
I'm not saying nothing, Kevin. Just let her fly. Insanity never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, you guys, while I was away, you guys were covering some great topics. I would like to get into what I think about what's happening in France after that story.
All right. So, for everybody who wants to know why I made the newspaper headlines national front page nonsense again, here is how it all went down. And it is, I'm laughing because it is so asinine. It is so ridiculous. It is so out of control. Let's factor in what I am. All right. Let's just, Stefanos, you and I have never met in person. But I understand that you're something like 6'12" or 10'3" or something like that. You're a tall guy. I'm 5'6". Right now, I weigh 200 pounds plus 0.75 of a pound. Gray hair, middle-aged guy. I've had 30 plus broken bones, 3 major concussions. I'm partially blind in my left eye. I'm partially deaf in my left ear. I have chronic pain in the right half of my body from all the injuries I've had. Like, who the hell am I? Think about that. What kind of a threat am I to anything or to anyone? Well, obviously I am, because the Canadian government saw fit to lock me up for 7 months and hire punks like Black Lives Matter and the Communist League of Ottawa and Antifa to continue to steal from me, damage my property, and assault me. Well, there were up to Christmas time, there had been 4 legitimate attempts on my life. December 23rd, there was another one. Now, the studio space that we had a really nice backyard. It had a fire pit and some real cool, it was a beautiful arrangement. And we would always get together after the show and throw a fire on, barbecue some stuff, and whatever else. It was a great social atmosphere. I was back there on December 23rd getting everything cleaned up. There's a lot of things I had to organize. 2 guys burst through the back fence, which was not really a fence. It's more of just like a bunch of planks on some poles, really. They came through and they had, one had a hammer, one had a knife. And before they could finish their threat, I was gone. Like, I mean, gone. You've never seen a fat white guy, Mike, run as fast as I did. I was over a fence, over a second fence, across the road, and over the 6-foot fence on the other side of the road. The problem is when I got over that fence, there were 5 more there. And one of them looks over and goes, "Holy F, there he is." I made a right turn. I'm going to tell you the truth here, folks. It was this close to being over, because there's no way that I could fight off 7 guys at that point that had knives and hammers. When I was up against the Antifa punks in the past, typically they were unarmed, or if they were armed, it was with basic stuff like little wooden flag poles and so on. I knew, because I was in the area all the time, I knew that the fence that I had hopped over had a hole, like an actual hole cut in the fence. I made a right turn. I ran for that hole, and I just dove right through it, scuffed my knees on the fence as I went through the hole, got up, split. There was an alleyway where there's a whole bunch of houses. Now, when you run down this alley, I had options. I could hop over more fences. I could hide in the shrubs. I could jump on top of someone's garage. There's actually even a couple of balconies I could climb on. No, I made a beeline for an underground parking garage, which is kind of like only about 4 feet underground. But I got in there and shoved myself underneath a pickup truck, and that's where I stayed for over 3 hours. They didn't find me. It's enough. 5 attempts on my life is enough. You guys remember when Antifa, there were 7 of them that attacked me and Derek, and they were pretty serious about that too. And Calgary police witnessed them do it. Antifa showed Calgary police my stolen property. Showed it to them. Calgary cops let them go. Live on Facebook. You guys remember that? Live. So I could file another report with the police to have nothing happen, or I can accept the fact that these attempts on my life and people like that psychopath we talked about earlier in the show are constantly going to be part of my life. I said, the hell with this. I split. I grabbed one bag and my computer bag and I left. And I had to stay in hiding to make sure everything cooled out for a bit. And realizing that there are very, very powerful people in this country that are using the courts to keep me pacified, using the courts to steal my my property, using the courts to steal everything I've got, my freedom, everything. Everything I've got's been taken from me. You know, so for all you idiots out there that have ever decided you want to sue me, the government's already taken everything I have. Like, everything I have is gone. Even my mouse is a $10 special. Okay, folks? Whatever. Yes, we got down to the Saskatchewan border with, is it Montana? I think it's Montana.
Yeah, it was Montana.
It's the Montana border.
Yeah.
And I decided that was it. I got to make a break. The Canadian government's not going to stop until I'm dead. And the plan was to get down there and appeal for asylum. And that's what the roads looked like that night. And it was already, that's the sun not quite down yet. It was already minus 15 Celsius at this point. When we finally got where we were going, the temperature had dropped to minus 30. And it was the type of thing where I said, you know what? I don't care. I do not care. I'm going for it. Now, I told everybody involved, do not rescue me. I have made this decision. I make it or I die. I do not want to be saved. Do not call the Canadian Border Guards. Do not call Homeland Security. Don't call anyone. If I don't make it, then my destiny is to freeze to death. That's a choice I made. So I'll say it this way. I'm a little upset that it wasn't respected. Because if things had gone the way that I think that they were going to go, I should be a corpse in a field right now. However, you guys know me. Whenever the going gets tough, I always find some way to survive it. So as I was walking south for about an hour and a half, this massive snow squall just blew in sideways. The snow was coming in sideways. My glasses froze. Couldn't see through them. Had to take them off. My water froze. The protein bars I had froze. That's how cold it was. Everything I had in my bag froze. I ended up back at the friggin' border. And it was just this miracle, I guess, because my brain was still working. I remembered in Google Maps that there was a massive fence that went where North Dakota, Montana, and Saskatchewan all met. Hold on a second there. So, just 1 second. So anyway, I found the barbed wire fence and I grabbed it and I sliced my hand up. Sliced it up pretty good. And I made my way south for 15 hours in the cold. It got to the point where everything began shutting down. My hands were not working anymore. My legs weren't working anymore. They really weren't. So I dug a snow grave and buried myself in the snow because the squall came back. Holy smoke, did it come back? And it was horrible. The wind it got right through the jacket, right through my clothes. The scarf I had on my face turned into a block of ice. So I thought for sure I'm done. So I'm going to find some peace here in this little cave, and that's that. Well, I survived the night, got up, and I kept walking, and that is when the border guards found me. They took me to their office. No arrest, no handcuffs, no reading of rights, no nothing. They gave me a couple of burritos and a blanket to stay warm. Listened to my tale as to why I was asking for asylum, and decided they weren't going to grant me asylum. They weren't going to let me look at the forms. They weren't going to read the forms I'd filled out. And they had me back at the Canadian border within 5 hours. Completely unheard of. I've never heard of the American government pulling that kind of a stunt where they just throw somebody out in 5 hours. But they did steal 5,000 of my bucks. They took 5,000 of my dollars, cash. They just took my cash, and that was the end of that. Not 500 bucks, Beavis, 5,000. They took $5,000. Took me back to the Canadian border, and that's when the border guards asked me, "Do you have any warrants for your arrest?" I said, "I think I have something small." Yeah, there's Antifa there. I think I've got something small in Alberta. To which they said, "Yeah, you do." And then Alberta decided they wanted to pay the fee to have me back in Alberta, which they did. They brought me back. They stuck me in the Calgary Remand Center for what, 18 days, I think it was. And then finally, I was able to get bail, and I stayed with my surety for 47 days. Had some very interesting conversations with some very interesting government employees. Not the best conversations going. And then the police began to show up every 3 days to make sure that I was still in my surety's house, because I couldn't leave the property. I could go to the sidewalk. I could go anywhere in the backyard or anywhere in the house, but couldn't leave the property unless I had a medical condition or to go to church or whatnot. But then the government said I couldn't go to church either, which was just absolutely unbelievable. There was one night, and Stefanos, I think you and I did talk about this. There was one night where the cops came by about 11:30. Edmonton police came by 11:30 p.m., rang the doorbell because they have no manners. And they were saying that they had to come in the house and they had to know everyone that lived there. And the owner of the house did the right thing, said, well, I'm not telling you who lives here. You know, it's none of your business who lives here. We asked the courts to have you come by at reasonable hours. 11:30 is not a reasonable hour. And then, you know, the cop kept asking, can I come in and take notes? And I just looked at the cop and said, no, not without a warrant. Smile. I smiled. And it was the same cop, by the way, who had arrested me in May of last year in Edmonton. Same guy. He put on like 50 pounds more. Not muscle. Okay. So he said that he wanted to come in and that they were instructed by their office to find out the names of everyone who lived in the house. And I had enough. I said, look, gentlemen, you know, I had my workout gloves on. Gentlemen, I'm working out. I don't have time for this. Please, a big smile on my face, go get a court order that states that we have to give you all the names that live in this household, and then we will comply. Does that sound okay? And they left. So it was a very trying and interesting time. And yes, it almost did kill me. And yes, those gloves that were auctioning off, Derek, if you got the picture, go ahead and throw that up. Those were the gloves that I was wearing. And you can see the barbed wire that I was grabbing to guide myself, rip them up. Yeah, there's all the rips in the gloves. That's them right there. And if you put them on, folks, in minus 40 or minus 30 weather, you'll find out how awful they really were. They didn't do much. I was lucky that I had those heated, those chemical heat pads inside. That's the only thing that kept my hands from freezing off. Now, my left hand didn't start working properly until almost 3 weeks later. There was just so much in my hand. It was like horrible. It's almost like nerve damage. Yeah. So there's the story in a nutshell, everybody. No, I'm not going to tell you who drove me places. Of course, I'm not going to tell you that. My Lord. Why would you even ask? So, Stefanos, you got a concentrated look on your face. Let's get your thoughts, and then let's get Mikey's thoughts next. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just crazy what they do when government overreach happens, such as showing up at the home, unreasonable hours, unconstitutional search and seizure, trying to find out who's in the home, has nothing to do with you. You know, it's just an amazing, sad state that we're in Canada right now, and the infringement on the Constitution and people being made out to be political prisoners. I don't think we've seen so many political prisoners since China, some other communist countries out there. Just crazy what and the border there, they I believe their extradition treaties were also violated in that case. There's a process that's supposed to be there, especially when somebody is seeking political asylum, that were completely ignored. So that is just another great concern. And depending on what political prisoner it is that's running to a country for some safety, depends who you are. And who knows, maybe they're getting kickbacks. Who knows what they were told to do and who gave those orders.
It'd be interesting to know who gave the orders, because they questioned me only for about 10 minutes. And I gave up all the goods on the whole story. And the guy says, okay, that's enough. Like he said that his book was full, and he didn't have a book. He had a clipboard with a piece of paper on it. All right. So it wasn't a book. Nothing was full, especially his brain, this guy. So they just decided to drive me back to the border. Yeah. Thanks, Derek. That's a beautiful photograph. I appreciate that. There's the end of the road. That's America on the other side there. That's the end of the road. So, Michael, let's get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's so that video there that you're showing right now, where can people see that?
It's not able to be seen yet.
We decided not to release the video yet. There is an American filmmaker in Los Angeles who threw a contract at me 2 days ago. and wants to tell my entire story. So he is going to be reviewing that, and we haven't decided yet if he owns the footage or not. I mean, Derek owns the footage. It belongs to Derek. It's not mine. It's Derek's. He shot it. He cut it, the whole bit. But this guy wants to cover the whole thing from start to finish. Like the last 5 years of my life have been absolutely insane, and it's all the doing of leftism and liberalism and for our American friends, the equivalent of what the Democratic Party would be doing.
Wow. So that's the pic. That's the clip of you attempting to go to the other side, basically.
Well, that was me also saying goodbye to friends and people I care about. I mean, the way that I saw it is if that a political asylum was going to be granted in any way, then I believe that the rules are I would not be allowed to leave the region in which the asylum was granted for, and which means I wouldn't be seeing anyone I know here for between 6 months and 5 years. So it's very, very heartbreaking to say goodbye to the people here in Alberta that I care about deeply. And there are many. Alberta's been very good to me from the standpoint of there are beautiful people here. There's crazies here, but I think the goodness of people here outweigh the crazies, like that psychopath we talked about earlier in the show. And the 3 psychopaths that I recognize in the chat room right now who keep criticizing me. Go for it, guys. Remember, I don't think about you when the show's over. I don't think about you when I'm, watching Futurama late at night with my kids. I don't give a rat's butt about any of you.
You're talking about on YouTube, right?
What's that, sorry?
Are there people acting up on YouTube?
With the software that we use here in StreamYard, we can see all the comments that come in from every platform. So I don't even know where these comments are coming from, but I know who the people are that are making the comments. Yeah, I'm Kevin J. Johnston. I rock, you don't. How's that sound? You guys spend all that time thinking about ways to insult me, and it hasn't worked once in 5 years. What makes you think it's going to work tonight? Look, I'm still smiling.
That's how dark it was whenever you went out.
That is exactly what it looked like.
Those 2 lights there, that's the farm way up.
That's what it looked like that night. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not really much I can really add, although to say that I'm glad that you made it. I'm sad that you're upset that your wishes weren't fulfilled, not because I want you dead, but because, you had a plan in place. But you know what, Kevin, and I know you'll disagree with me, but I think that God did this so that you could fight the battle from within. And I know it's hypocritical of me saying that, but again, I'm saying that I am fighting a battle the way I can fight this battle. The fact that you can't even leave Alberta means that what you need to do now is use the tools that you've got to fight these left-wing globalists that have completely taken over our country from within. I fight from within and from without because I can. Those are the tools that I have. But some people don't have those, and I think that they need to probably fight even more so. Kevin, you I think that you have a purpose. If you didn't have a purpose, I think you'd probably have died that night. I think you would have probably died a long time ago. The amount of things that you've been through, I think it's clear that you have a purpose. You had said to me a few days ago that you thought that Canada was lost, and I said I disagree with you. I don't think it's lost. I don't think, so long as there are people like us who are fighting, the battle can't be lost. Or unless some meteor hits the earth, in that case, we all lose. The only way we lose, literally, and this is what I need people to understand, the only way we will lose is if we give up. We don't have much else to lose. They can take our money, they can freeze our bank accounts, lock us up, do all sorts of stuff. So long as we keep on at it, we can't lose. They've got a lot to lose. And I'll tell you, these left-wing globalist subhumans who are running the government of Canada, they won't be able to survive what we have survived. There is a huge movement going on. Take France, for example. yeah, Macron may have won, even though just like what the other Mike had said earlier, he won based on people wanting to not have Le Pen there. They don't like him. But can I tell you guys something that you probably will find shocking? France has a lot of overseas territories.
It does.
In the Caribbean, mostly black people. Now, what do you hear when you hear Marine Le Pen from the media? She's a far-right racist. Hitler's granddaughter. I mean, that's basically what people will think about if they listen to the media. Did you know that Guadeloupe, Martinique, and Guyana, French territories, if you go to French Guyana, it's like you're in Paris. Marine Le Pen won those by huge margins, and they're mostly black people. So what does that say to you? It means that there are a lot of people in corners that you wouldn't have expected who are beginning to turn to the nationalist populist way. They have seen the Macron way and the socialist way and the globalist way. And what's happening? They're poorer. They're less free. I mean, you talk about, we were talking about vaccine apartheid. I mean, a lot of these guys are living like how they did back when France was, discriminating against them. And that's what they're seeing. And they're saying to themselves, this is what we have been supporting this whole time. Might as well support Le Pen. Let's see what she can do for us. I was shocked when I saw that. Guadeloupe, one of the blacker than this shirt, that island. About 60% of the population voted for Le Pen. Now, the reason I keep mentioning black is because, unfortunately, we black colored individuals, we are the most gullible when it comes to globalism, leftism, for the most part, especially in Western countries.
Actually, brother, I wrote a foreword for a friend of mine. In fact, I just did it 2 weeks ago. He's writing a book on exactly what you just brought up on black gullibility worldwide. He's a black scholar, and he's
Right.
talked about this at length.
Mhm.
I wrote a foreword in there for him. He's actually putting the foreword into the book. I think he's releasing it for Christmas. Yeah, you're correct. There is a gullibility factor there, because I find that most
When it
folks
comes to the left.
don't care. Yeah, they don't care about politics. They're having
Right.
fun.
But when it comes to the left, that's the thing, and they think they're smart about it. But I think that's turning, and I think it's my generation and definitely the generation that's coming after me, which is going to change that nonsense. But I don't want people to give up hope. Kevin, just because you're not in the United States right now doesn't mean that you should give up hope. I think that...
Well, I'm not going to give up hope in my capacity to survive. I'm certainly not going to give up hope in my ability to do the right thing and still help where I can. Now, as I've mentioned,
But don't give up hope on humanity either.
Well, no, the human race is not something I'm going to give up hope on. I'm just going to tell the truth about it, and I'm going to recognize it for what it is. Like, we are really an infantile species, completely. Most people, most human beings, and this is evolution. So I know a lot of people can't help themselves. Most human beings, regardless of color, are problematic in that they follow patterns. They're very patternistic. So if you get the average individual, they get themselves into a groove. Wake up, eat breakfast, brush teeth, go to work, come home, watch TV, go to bed. That's something that they will stick with for the rest of their lives. They get upset when you interfere with that or ask them to think about something other than that. That's not just a Canadian thing. That's all over the world. So where I find is I'm not losing faith in humanity, but I'm frustrated with how few people wish to be philosophical and try to comprehend something beyond their own little household and their own little pattern. That's all. Go ahead.
I want to talk about, and I don't know if you've talked about this, but what's been going on with the whole conservative thing. Kevin, I want to ask you, everyone's been talking about Pierre Poilievre. Now, do I like him? I do. He's okay. I've been very skeptical of politicians for a while. I was saying on my channel the other day, if I was a conservative, if I was voting in the Conservative Party leadership, which I'm not, because that would mean I would have to become a member and pay the party, which I'm never going to do. I'm an independent. But if I was, I would vote for a guy named Joseph Boulanger, or whatever his name is, from Saskatchewan, for a number of reasons I'll get into. But what is your view on Pierre Poilievre, Kevin? I mean,
Pierre Poilievre talks a really, 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 really good game. We've seen him scold everybody in the Liberal Party for quite some time. Here's the problem with him and his party, is that they haven't been using the courts. They haven't been filing motions to shut down liberal agendas. They have not been coming out and telling the world what the liberal agendas are. If anyone's going to know, it's him. And yes, he scolds Justin, and Justin takes it because I don't think Justin understands what Pierre is saying. But what I can say is that Pierre, if he wants to be the leader, should be clogging the courts up, talking at length about what the Liberal Party is doing wrong and doing that is illegal. And he's not.
But where was he when it came? Where was he when he came to our freedoms? Back in 2020 and 2021, he's just now talking about it when it's safe for him to do so. That's one of the reasons why I respected Maxime, because that man was willing to get, and that's, remember that what I was telling Kellyanne a few months ago. He, with all his faults, he was willing to get arrested, standing up against. I don't know if Pierre would be willing to get arrested, and that's what makes me nervous. If he becomes the leader, would I vote for him? Probably. I'm not big on just voting anymore. I think people should still vote because we should use all our weapons and our artillery, but we should do more than that. We should be protesting, clogging up the courts.
Okay, here's my challenge. And I'm going to issue this one now. So I want everyone out there to relay this to Pierre Poilievre and to Maxime Bernier. I'm telling you now, if either one of these men come on this show and are interviewed by me for 2 full hours, then we know that they have balls. Now, out of the two of them, Maxime would say yes first. I know that for a fact. But if Pierre Poilievre was to come on this show, which we've rebranded freedomreport.ca because it's no longer my show, it belongs to Eric, Stefanos, and Ed. If he came on the show and I hosted that and I did the interview, then we know that he is a true conservative. Then we know that he's someone who will attack and shut down and shut up the left. If he does not want to come on a show with me, then we know that he's as gutless as the rest. That's it. And I'll tell you this, guys, every politician in the country knows who I am. When I walk in the room, all the voices drop. They all just drop. And it's not because I'm a danger to them. It's because I'm going to ask real questions. And I'll use words that have more than 2 syllables when I ask those questions. And I'm going to be relentless. They know that. So Pierre and Max, come on the show and show people you're actually true Canadians and true conservatives, because you know that you'll get berated by the left-wing media for coming on the show. But let's see how you handle it. I've handled the media like a pro. Donald Trump handled the media like a pro. Let's see if you two boys are real pros. That's the challenge. Go ahead, Mike.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. And not only that, hey, if you don't want to come on, I'll make you an even better deal, Pierre.
Let me hear it.
If you don't want to come on Kevin's show, come on Arena Nation. Come on Arena Nation. I mean, look, black guy, man. I mean, Kevin. I know everybody doesn't like white males. You don't want to be on Kevin. He's too offensive. Okay, come on Arena Nation.
Yes.
And I'm a nice interviewer. Am I a nice interviewer, Kevin?
You're an excellent interviewer, Michael, especially when you wear a shirt and tie. God, you're handsome.
There he is. I mean, Pierre speaks a very good game. And maybe he is genuine, but then again, just like Elon Musk, ever since Doug Ford really screwed us over, I have been very, I mean, I hear everybody talk about Pierre. Listen, I'm not going to give these politicians the satisfaction of my absolute loyalty. That's why I'm an independent. You know, you as a politician, you are my employee. I'm the employer. And you need to sit down in front of me and I need to scrutinize you, interview you basically, and even if it's not on here, but you need to present something to me that is genuine. You need to show me as well. Don't just say it, but show me. You know, Maxime, when he was ready to go to jail, disobeying these COVID-19 tyrannies, that's when I said, you know what, I'm going to support this guy. And I didn't support Max in the 2019 or 2018 election, but I did this time. That's how I am. So just because everybody says Pierre is the one doesn't mean I'm just going to sit here. Oh, it's Pierre. It's the same thing with Trump too. I scrutinize him too. I'll scrutinize even you, Kevin. You know what, Kevin? You, I know, is genuine. Listen, you are willing to do some. I mean, you are willing to die for freedoms, and that's why I know you are genuine. So
I appreciate that, Michael. Thank you. So there we go, folks. That's the challenge. If you don't want to come and talk to me, talk to Michael. Yeah,
Right.
there you go.
Look,
and you should, because I guess, Michael, you can play the race card. Pierre Poilievre will not come on a black man show. There you
No,
are.
I don't do that.
Play it
I don't
up.
listen. You know what? I know that Stefanos wants to say something, but I just say, you know what? I won't. I would never ever do something like. I don't
I
believe.
know you wouldn't.
No,
but,
and I
you know,
shouldn't.
I think you should.
No. I don't believe in that. If we want to go past race in this society, that is my goal. You know what? If we're going to ever go past race and see each other as individuals, we can't do that. Now, I mean, that's just my thing, but I would never do that to Pierre. But I will say to Pierre, listen, if you think Kevin is too tough, if you think he's too, come on, I'll be very nice to. I'll even offer him food if he wants to.
I'm not going to slap him or anything. I'm not going to do that.
Listen, Kevin, look, you're a little controversial, okay, Kevin? You're a little. These politicians, they're afraid of you. I'm controversial too, you know. Everybody saw it, but you, Kevin, my gosh, man. Seriously, are you sure you're not black, Kevin? I mean, the amount of times you've been to jail. I mean, listen, these politicians. But listen. You can come on my show. I will be. I don't know why a lot of people don't. I ask. You know, Faith has been on my show. John Turmel, one of the he has the Guinness Book of World Records of running the most times in Canadian elections, provincial and federal. Many people have been on my show. Pierre can come on if he wants. I would never. You know, I have some controversial views, which are correct views in my opinion. I would never do anything to embarrass him or anything. So come on here. Hey, I would love it. We're not in any competition, Kevin.
No.
If he comes on your show, I would be happy for you. We're never, when it comes to this industry, we're not in competition. But
no.
Just an offer, you know? Anyway, Stefanos, what did you want to say?
Yeah, what do you got to say on this?
I watched somebody cornered Pierre in one of his places that he showed up. They gave him crap because all he wanted to do was play music and avoid everyone. Then they made him shut the music off. But you have to think for yourselves. Watch these guys. Watch when they're being questioned. One of the questions was if he had, since he's been speaking up and shaming Johnston, has he ever opened his mouth to say about the $75 million he's profit off of the jabs since he owns shares? And all he said, no, I have not. That's it. No reason given. Why wouldn't you? That'd be a great point to nail him on. Then you have, because, you know, that's a clear conflict of interest. Then you have his wife. I don't know how true it is or not, but his wife apparently is tied in with Big Pharma. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
Whose wife?
Pierre's. But, you know, that's nor here nor there because she is a nothing. She's a nobody. She would not be the one getting elected. Now, the other very key one is the Twitter post with him and Bill Gates. His excuse was, oh, it was just a photo opportunity. I'm gonna call BS on that because I want everyone to go look at that post and see.
Oh
man, that's when we were getting to good stuff. I just want to say
1 hour later.
I just want to say one quick thing about what he was saying, Stefanos. I don't even care about all those things about the whole Bill Gates and World Economic Forum. Okay, he's back. Go ahead and finish, and then I just want to say something very quick, and then yeah.
Yeah, well, the point that I'm making is, why would he not point out something on Trudeau or call him out on a clear conflict of interest? Now, this is a problem in law. Never mind if this is just a guy in business or whatever making money. This is someone who is supposed to be a prime minister and making money off of the deaths of Canadian citizens from being injected with a poison. That's different. Now, when you got somebody like Bill Gates who's been pushing all this stuff, and Bill Gates has always been a
Wow.
Damn.
I guess Bill Gates is watching the show.
Yeah, Microsoft. Yeah, you shouldn't have said that, Stefanos. You're going to get your internet all chopped up. All I want to just say very quickly, and I'll try and get, I don't even care if he had a thing with Bill Gates. And I mean, I'll even say this. Let's say, for example, we heard that Polyev was going to go to was in Bilderberg. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Annual globalist meeting, secret meeting. I don't care about those things. What I care about, because a lot of times people, even Donald Trump did this. People will be around certain individuals that we don't like to benefit them, you know, even if they were businessmen or whatever. That part doesn't bother me per se. If I was in a position, I might even meet with Bill Gates one day. If Bill Gates wanted to meet with me, Stefanos, I would be a fool not to meet with him. I mean, that guy is influential. I'll talk to him. I'll try and influence him. I'll try and get stuff from him. So that's not what I'm worried about. But what I am worried about is, number one, unlike Joseph Boulanger, I don't know if we can get a picture of him up there. Nobody talks about him. But he not only wants to ban the COVID-19 tyranny, vaccine mandates, mask mandates, he also wants to make them illegal. I haven't heard Pierre saying anything about making them illegal. And number two, where was Pierre in 2020 and 2021 when all this COVID-19 tyranny was at its worst? I understand he was an employee and he didn't want to lose his job. But you know what? There comes a point where when things get so bad, you know, you've got to risk everything, like Kevin has done, and to a smaller extent Maxime has done, and probably a lot of other people, instead of just sitting there and allowing it to happen. Because if Pierre were to open his mouth earlier, even if he got like locked up or taken off of the Conservative Party caucus, he could have made a big influence, and he could have been even rewarded later. But we'll see what happens. I'm not writing him off just yet, but I would, if I was a Conservative member, I would put Joseph Boulanger first, who is against the reset. He's like the Canadian Ron Paul. He wants to make the COVID-19 tyrannies illegal. He also is against the Great Reset. He wants us to drill for our own oil, etc., etc.
Well, I want us to drill our own oil. I would love it if Alberta split from Canada. That has to happen. And I think the greatest thing in the world.
It might happen soon.
It has to happen, because there's absolutely nothing that Ottawa has that's of any benefit. That has any benefit to Alberta. I very much would like to see Alberta split or become the 50%.
I'll tell you, if things keep going the way they're going, Kevin, if things keep going the way they're going, within the next 3 years, your wish might just come true. I'm going to tell you why I say that. 3 years. That's not far away. There is a very big anger with Jason Kenney. Nobody likes him. The left doesn't like him, and the right doesn't like him. There is a party. I know I've heard some stories about that. It's been disbanded or whatever. I don't know, but there is a lot of people who are willing, I think it's like 11, 12, 13% of Albertans who are willing to support a separatist party. If that party were to ever get even close to power or to a position where they could influence the legislature and put in a referendum, Alberta will be out of Canada. I'll tell you this, Kevin, if Alberta, and especially Saskatchewan, had an independence referendum tomorrow, Alberta, and especially Saskatchewan would be out of Canada. And if they were to leave, Quebec, which has been trying to get out of Canada for so long, they will also hold a referendum and they would leave as well. What will that mean? Canada will be over.
They get way too much money to leave there, brother. But
but if Alberta and Saskatchewan leave, because Alberta and Saskatchewan, that's where they're getting that money from. What you call it, payments. And if they leave Canada, equalization payments, and Quebec isn't going to get those equalizations, so they'll be like, you know what, because those equalization payments are there so that the provinces don't use their own resources to build their own money, which is stupid. It's like it's a form of subservience to the federal government. Quebec will say to themselves, you know what, might as well become our own country and use our asbestos and use our own natural resources and build up our own economy like we should be doing instead of relying on oil and gas, which we claim we don't like. You watch, Kevin.
I love oil and gas, man. Mike, we got to get going. Thanks for joining us. How do people find you online?
Arana Nation on BitChute, ARANA space Nation on BitChute.com. You can also find me on Frontline News Flash. There is no Arana Nation on Rumble. It's Frontline News Flash. It's owned by a great friend of mine who also puts up my videos as well as other people's videos, and he has a kind of populist channel kind of going on there on Rumble, but on BitChute.
Arana Nation,
yeah,
Michael.
Get me on Arana Nation on BitChute.
It's been great to see you, pal. It really has. We got to go in 4 minutes here. Take care of yourself, brother.
All right, take care, Kevin.
All right, we'll see you then.
Yeah.
And we got to get Ed in here. So these are the 4 originals from the show. It was great to have Michael here. It was great to have Mike Martins here.
This guy's an extra.
Yeah, it's wonderful. What a Biden's giving Derek a little nibble on the ear. Joe, knock it off. Just knock it off, Joe. So, gentlemen, I gotta thank you very, very much for taking the reins on the show, especially when the government locked me up and I couldn't do it. Taking the reins on the show and just keeping it going. I had to give it to you guys because of all the court orders and all the stress and strain put on me by the government. Thank you very much for keeping it going. I love you guys. Yeah, it's great to have this loyal bunch of what do we call ourselves? Regular dudes, handsome devils. Pick one. Don't care. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure.
Old stock Canadian?
Thank you very much for doing so.
Old stock Canadian. Trudeau hates us, right?
He does. Wrong color skin. Hates us. Absolutely hates us. All right, gentlemen, each of you got 30 seconds. You're signing off with a 30-second comment. Go ahead.
Tomorrow night, I'll be at the Vets for Freedom event and be looking for some live interviews from there.
Fantastic. Stefanos, go ahead.
Yeah, look, earlier in the chat with this Carol person, she's an old lady, almost 80 years old, been sending me nudes of herself, trying to get with me. Another stalker. People, I'm not looking for girlfriends. I'm not looking for wives. And if I end up having you as my girlfriend, you're pretty freaking special. And the rest of the stalkers, just leave.
Stefanos and I have talked about this at length on the phone. He truly is not looking for anyone right now. So stop. The answer is going to be a resounding no. Gentlemen, thanks for being here, guys. I certainly do appreciate that.
No problem.
Talk, and they, of course, had me take this name down and turn it back into freedomreport.ca, which started the whole thing back in 2016. Wow. This was a great time, but regrettably, because there are still so many court orders in place, I've got to not be on the show much past tonight. There'll be a couple of guest appearances here and there, but this is the only official one that I've announced for this year. I'm sorry that I can't do more. I really am sorry I can't do more. But listen, folks, thank you all for being here. Whoever won the auction tonight on the items, I'll get you an email tomorrow morning. Have a look at that. We'll get your addresses from you, and we'll get everything shipped out to you. Wow, did I have a great time. Thank you, Canada. Thank you, America. Thank you to all my friends from all over the world for watching tonight's show. It's been a privilege and an honor and a pleasure to be here. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. You'll always catch this show with Derek and Stefanos and Ed. That's Monday to Friday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Calgary time and 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Toronto time. Yeehaw, everybody. Thank you. Kevin J. Johnston here saying I love you all and good night.
This is a war on religion. This is a war on the children. They give you the cure with the sickness. This is a war on tradition. This is a war on religion. This is a war on the children. They give you the cure with the sickness. This is a war. This is a war.
This is a war that we living through, never reveal to you that they also leaving killing you. They don't tell you what the hell you agreeing to. She been hurting you, don't know who leading you. Keep on proceeding to follow, your mind is so hollow. Are you being coddled by government swallowing up everything that the media tell you without a question or a problem? All of this sheep being slaughtered, they poison the water, removing the father, ain't trusting these daughters, ignoring blue collar, keep printing the dollar, brainwashing your sons and your daughters, ain't got any honor if I'm being honest. I just ain't picking this side, but I'm gonna ride for my freedom and die for my freedom and question the government lies. A lot on my mind and so little time, gotta think all of us needing a sign. The devil he hides an ego and pride, they sell and they paying the price. God won't give you more than you can handle. Government should be dismantled. Every politician got a scandal. Prepare for the war, we going to battle.
This is a war on religion. This is a war on the children. They give you the cure with the sickness. This is a war on tradition. This is a war on religion. This is a war on the children. They give you the cure with the sickness. This is a war. This is a war.
I'd rather be red pill, get killed, than ignorant living and meet that still. Don't stand up for something, you falling for nothing. Don't wait till the world that we know fall ill. This is the revelation of our generation, losing civilization. I'm determinated just to liberate us with our dedication. For the Terminator, fuck your medication. The administration can alienate us or exterminate us. I just keep on praying for your salvation. You are outdated, society becoming outrageous. Keep your house painted for the firstborn. The angel of death in its worst form. We being scorned, look out for their horns. Remember this isn't their first war. They coming prepared, so just be aware. They do not want to hear none of your prayers. This is a war, they ain't playing fair. They feed off your fear, they wanting you scared. Death and despair, it's all in the air. Just be aware, you think I care? The more that you know, the more that it's clear. This is a war, it's already here.
This is a war on religion. This is a war on the children. They give you the cure with the sickness. This is a war on tradition. This is a war on religion. This is a war on the children. They give you the cure with the sickness. This is a war. This is a war.
Home of the slave, till the crickets make a sound. Where's the bold and the brave? We all have to stand our ground. Home of the slave, till the crickets make a sound. Where's the bold and the brave? We all have to stand our ground.
This is a war on